get started with The Source.
Switchblade, first and last of one God made, and that's the truth. But man, keep on trying to hold me back while another chicken head come home confused. Too strong, try to do me wrong, and the last one standing will order and command you to dance. Oh, dance.
Well, tell your preacher and your teacher I'ma give you what you love.
Yeah. Welcome to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. If you are watching in any social media space, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or if you're listening on the air, live on the air, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I am your host for The Source on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Listen, yesterday's show was so diggity dang hot. We had people calling in so many times. We filled up so many lines in our call sheets. And even when I left here and went home and began doing my research, I slept for about 2 hours and was awakened by these conversations that we had yesterday around 24% of black men voting for the current president, around the fact that we are still being killed, colorectal cancer, you know, just all sorts of things. And so I began asking questions because that's the way I always do things. I don't assume that I know everything. I don't assume that, I am the expert on anything, really. I seek to understand as much as possible. I got an email from one of our callers, Maurice, last night. And Maurice, if you are listening, I sent you back a response asking if I could read your email on the air today. Please respond to my email, because what I'm not going to do is read your words without your permission, okay? So moving right along, man. It's September 1st. We are 60, how many days are we away from the election there? See, Mike is in here, don't even know, right? The conversations have been really excruciatingly honest in here, and I want to keep them going, right? But let me get started with the show, because I know I don't have much time, with Renee Langley and Dr. Stephen Johnson. If you remember them, they were the two people. Renee used to work for Lifetime Fitness in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania, and Dr. Johnson had the police called on him, and it was while I was interviewing him that someone called in anonymously and said that Lifetime was the one that called the cops on him. And so I wanted them to get back on the show so we could do a little bit of a follow-up on where they are, what has come out of it since Lifetime has said that they did call the police and it was a case of mistaken identity. I can't wait to hear this one. Renee Langley is a 6th grade teacher in the Abington School District with her master's in educational leadership and a mother of 2. After leaving the foster care system, Renee fell in love with fitness. Being active is her passion and a healthy outlet to express herself and guide others to do the same. She has been in the fitness field for 20 years. Her previous employment was Lifetime Fitness. Dr. Stephen Johnson is a double board-certified general and trauma critical care surgeon. He is the director-in-chief of the general surgery department at a 2-hospital medical system in New Jersey, where he also serves as vice chairman of surgery. He is a board member of PEI Kids, an agency focused on providing services for at-risk youth, a past board member of the Boys and Girls Club, as well as a past board member of Visions for Haiti. Dr. Johnson is a dedicated son and husband, but his most significant accomplishment is that of being called dad by his 2 daughters. Good afternoon to the both of you, and welcome back to The Source.
Thank you.
Who did I lose?
I'm here. Renee's here.
Dr. Johnson?
Oh, I think I hear him.
Wait, he may be called. Is that Dr. Johnson?
Dr. Johnson? Okay, hold on.
All right, so somehow he got disconnected. Did you disconnect Dr.? Put him back or put him on?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Thank you so much. How are you both doing?
I am hanging in there.
Yeah. So, if for the WRD, the Source listeners that are listening right now, when we were talking, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And in the middle of having our conversation about the fact that you were called, the police, Upper Dublin police showed up in front of you, said that they knew who you were, wanted to talk to you, and you said, well, why were you there? They couldn't tell you who called them. Someone called into the studio and told my producer that Lifetime called the police on you. I'd like you now to give me a synopsis of what has happened since then. I know you ended up on 6ABC and PHL 17, and the door broke open for people to pay attention to what was happening. Can you tell us what has happened, or give me a synopsis of what's gone on since then?
So I think since the time that you talked to me, we have had the opportunity to talk with the police chief from Upper Dublin Police Department, and in addition to that, we've also received what I think is a response from Lifetime Fitness. Mm-hmm. So to keep it short and sweet, basically...
Corporate. That was corporate, not Fort Washington.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Was that corporate or Fort Washington?
The Lifetime Club, you mean?
Yeah, that gave you, that responded back to you.
Yes, Fort Washington.
Okay.
So, actually, I'm sorry, from corporate headquarters. Okay. So the bottom line is this. We had the suspect, actually, there was a suspect that we learned about that had apparently taken a train into Trenton, New Jersey, and then from there jumped into a cab, went to the Lifetime Fitness Club in Princeton, New Jersey, went to the front desk, gave my name, Steve Johnson, blew by the front desk, which I find quite hard to believe, went into the locker room, apparently took some items that were not his, returned to the cab, went back to the train station, and is in the wind ever since. So the Plainsboro Police Department has apparently put that out there in terms of an investigation, and there's a report that we haven't been privy to as of yet, but we certainly are going to get to the bottom of that. And then with that came the explanation from the Upper Dublin Police Chief along with Lifetime Fitness. Lifetime Fitness, on the other hand, actually wrote us a letter that basically talked about, in my opinion, the usual canned response of we take it seriously that anyone who uses our gym should be treated with respect and kindness. And some other words were used, but the bottom line is it was an apology. But from my perspective, that apology falls flat for so many reasons. And at this point, we are just at the point of understanding where we're going with this whole thing. My wife and I have been, deliberating over it, and we still, are contemplating having the conversation face-to-face with the individuals from corporate and/or Fort Washington.
So I have a question for you. What date did this incident take place?
August 18th for me.
August 18th. When did you and I have the conversation?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember when we had the conversation?
I believe it was 1 week ago.
1 week ago. Okay.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks had passed. At least a week had passed since the incident. And so I guess what I'm wondering is, why did it take all of this for them to get to the place where they sent you a response? Why didn't they let you know before you ended up coming in on the air?
That is a fantastic question because, in my opinion, if there is an issue with fraudulent activity on an account, that should come to the attention of the person who holds the account.
Absolutely.
They have my information, they have my telephone number, they have my wife's telephone number, they also have, our address. So I find it quite interesting that this is supposed to be a police investigation, but yet no one ever showed up at my door to question me.
Right.
And then furthermore, the name Steve Johnson is probably one of the most common names, in the United States, to be quite honest with you. So for someone to go past the front desk, and by the way, Renee can attest to the fact that in order to get into the Lifetime Fitness Gym, you have to go through a screening process where you show your picture shows up. Yes.
And there's cameras at the front desk too. So I'm curious as to why it's taken so long for Steve to get information back from the Princeton location and even just the Fort Washington location, when I know that there's cameras that document everything. They're saying that another gentleman walked in the Princeton location, but where's the footage for that? It seems as if there's a bunch of loops and, twists and turns that they're trying to make Steve and his family go through to find out why did you do that?
And here's my other question. If someone walked into another gym, another location, used your name, and apparently used your gym membership, because that's what they're saying, right? They're saying he used your gym membership. Why didn't they flag the account and call you and say, this is what happened in the gym today. The person used your gym membership, used your name, flew by us, did all of this other stuff. You called the police and nobody said anything until you walked into the Lifetime in Fort Washington. No one showed up to ask you any questions at all? Because there were things missing, right? We're still living in America, right? Where you're innocent until proven guilty, but for black people, we're going to come and question you and ask you all sorts of things. So no one reached out to you until you went there to check in to make sure that your membership was canceled, and then the police officers showed up.
That is correct.
Okay. So then my question becomes, what do you think really happened here?
Renee, I'm going to let you start off with that one, and then I have my own thought.
Okay. From working at this location, and there's so many people that feel it and know it, there is a presence of white solidarity. And if you break that solidarity, then you're starting to break rank. And basically, that's what happened. The area lead posted a racist photo. The general manager did not reach out to the black and brown community, showing that he was culturally unaware and insensitive to his people. And then you have the manager on duty who showed microaggressive behavior, and it's going right down the ranks. And Lifetime does not want to be, they don't want to be known as an institute that has white supremacy circulating. And I personally feel like they're trying to cover up their stories. The story shouldn't be that complicated. It shouldn't be that hard to get answers. We shouldn't be here, 2-3 weeks after the incident and still trying to get a police report or being told you need to talk to this detective. That shouldn't be happening right now. I feel like they are trying to cover up a wrongful decision, and I can say it's not the first time that I've seen Lifetime do this behind the scenes. A lot of people don't see what happens behind the scenes when you're working there, but there's a lot that goes on.
Okay, so someone asked this question, Dr. Johnson, what kind of membership did you have? Unless you have a premium membership, it is not possible to access Lifetime gyms in other places.
I actually had a membership that was, it was my wife and I, and we basically were able to access both Fort Washington and the King of Prussia location. I was not aware of the fact that we actually had a Princeton location. Nor did I really care because I live in Pennsylvania, so I never, ever thought about accessing the Princeton location.
Right. Okay.
But if I could add to what Renee is saying, I think overall this may be a case of what we see oftentimes in corporate America, where we have retaliation, and it's just the one simple buzzword that exists. We wouldn't have federal mandates and all other types of things that occur when things occur in the work setting. And in this particular incident, the regional manager apparently lost his job behind this entire incident with the posting of the blackface caricature that we done.
That was after it was brought to everyone's attention. It didn't happen immediately. That was the community speaking up and saying this is not right. And once they started losing membership, then they don't make change until it's late. I mean, why did it take so many members to say I'm not returning?
Right.
And then they say, okay, we're going to get rid of the area lead.
So where did the retaliation come from?
So what I'm saying ultimately is that with his dismissal, and then apparently there was a general manager, and Renee can speak to this, that may have also been dismissed from the Fort Washington Club. My thought is that the so-called flagging of my account may have been in retaliation to that overall buzz that was created by my letter to the corporate office. And that's just a theory. I can't, prove that, but it certainly sounds quite suspicious because we see it often in corporate America where, things like this happen.
It's like this person spoke up and this is what's going to happen.
Right. I am intrigued and want to know exactly what is going to come out of this. Please, I need you to stay in touch with me on this. I want to keep following it. I think, this is Andrea surmising now, that they didn't expect it to get to this point.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah. And so as a direct result, people are trying to cross I's and dot T's after the fact. So, look for, and I'm speaking now with my trainer hat on, with my implicit bias trainer hat on. You want to see exactly what day on the police report was filed. You want to see what detectives were called in, exactly what happened. You want to get the camera footage. You want all of this because there needs to be an example, for lack of a better word, for people who consistently do this kind of stuff, right? Lifetime Fitness, school district, whatever. Dr. Johnson, in my humble opinion, had you not been a double board certified surgeon who knew how to handle yourself, because when people are traumatized consistently and cops approach them, they become skittish. You handled yourself in a gentle, calm manner. You could have easily lost your life, right? And that 100%. Is my concern in these here United States with all the things that are circulating around us. So I need you both to continue to follow up and follow through, and I would like to continue to talk to you as you get more information, okay?
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're both quite so welcome.
And I also want to thank you for listening, because I have people at the location who reached out and actually they said to me, "Why are you making a big deal out of this?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "That's the problem right there."
Yeah.
Lifetime, are they providing the training? Are they even, from what I'm hearing, they've had one meeting.
Mm-hmm.
One meeting on diversity,
Mm-hmm.
and more than half the staff didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Are you educating your people there? Because why would someone say to me, "Why are you making a big deal out of this?" My question is, why aren't you?
Right. Yep. Thank you both so much, Renee Langley and Dr. Stephen Johnson. I look forward to the follow-up, okay?
All right. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
you're
your time.
quite welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Weather
and traffic to keep you informed for your drive home
in the happy hour
with Sincerely Sarita.
Monday through Thursday, 4 till 7 p.m.
Right here
on Word Radio, 96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Come on down to Angry Deacon Ribs, located at 1019 Spring Garden Street. Without question, they have the best pork and beef ribs in Philly. Lightly smoked, full of flavor, and always tender. The bangin' brisket, pulled pork, wings, macaroni and cheese, and collard greens will have you coming back for more. Open Wednesday through Sunday with curbside pickup or delivery through Uber Eats. Give them a call at 215-769-RIBS. Come get some.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. While I am waiting I need some volume in my microphone. My headset, thank you. Much better. I felt like I was in a tunnel somewhere. While I am waiting for Dr. Reverend Alan E. Waller to call in for our usual segment, there's some things that I want to talk to you about. I've got like all this paper, and it's not easy, sometimes to catch up and stay abreast of all the news with all the disinformation that's out here. There's some reputable sources that I stick with all the time, but even they are not able to. Is that Pastor Waller? Well, you better go on with it. I like it. Pastor Waller.
Hey.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. It's 1:25.
Yes, it is. You are on the money, man. I love it. I love it. Let me just go ahead and introduce you because, again, I don't want to assume everybody knows who you are. Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller is the senior pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Highly sought after revivalist, vocalist, and lecturer, Dr. Waller is a true visionary of the church and the community who serves humanity far beyond the restraints of traditionalism. His partner in marriage and ministry is Dr. Ellen Jo Waller, the leader of Enon's women's ministry and a devoted mother to their two daughters, Ellen Morgan and Erica Lynn. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good. Listen, I gave us a little bit of extra time because I always feel like I'm rushed. You and I get into all sorts of topics as we are discussing. One of the things that I would like to do, I remember a couple of years ago at the Women of Excellence Awards, your wife was getting an award for her work with sex trafficking.
Yes.
With Susan L. Taylor, and I have been covering stories around it. I would love to be able to talk to her at some point, when she has a moment, but that's, we'll work that piece through. Sir, yesterday I got on the air and spoke to some media friends of mine who sent me two links about the elections. One of them was in January, an article that was written by KYW News reporter Cherry Gregg, and the other one was in May. And both articles spoke up about the fact that 8% of African American males voted for the current president, and a good 24% will be voting for him this election. I went further to do a little bit more research and learned that there have been meetings here in Philadelphia with black men, pastors, deacons, heads of businesses, whatever, who are saying that they are going to be voting for this president, and gave the reasons why. The stuff that I heard, the amount of phone calls I got on the air yesterday about it was something else. Today at 2:21 p.m., I have an African-American gentleman who's Republican. He says he has Republican tendencies. He switched back over to, he fascinates between independent and Democrat, but he still is mostly Republican in his thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Waller, that reminded me of a Jamaican mama. That one said 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was so interesting because black men were calling in here yesterday saying that, 100,000 of them were let out of prison by the current president. I started doing my research last night. Let's talk about this, shall we? What are your thoughts, sir? And they feel like we are completely out of touch, that as hosts and as people and as pastors, we're completely out of touch with what's going on in the communities, and they really don't feel like they're being heard.
Well, again, this is almost like our conversation last week.
Yes.
There are concerns that the Democratic Party did not do enough under the Obama administration for black people. That is a fair criticism. We have to ask ourselves the question, do we think we're going to get, number one, what was the motivation behind what Donald Trump has done? Everything has been manipulative. It is true he signed a bill, and it's going to go on his record as having done something for the penal system, but it has not gotten at the root of the problem. You can't stick a knife in my back that is 7 inches long, pull it out 5 inches and forget about, or pull it out 2 inches and forget about the 5 inches that are still back in my back. So that's number one. Number two, there is a tendency to assume that Christian values align with the Republican Party more than Democratic values, and that is because they have defined Christianity around LGBTQ issues and abortion. But there's more to the Bible than those issues. What we have to be reminded is that neither of the parties represent the kingdom of God. And so it is not, so Republicans basically deal with bedroom sin issues, and Democrats deal with boardroom issues. And so there are going to be Christians on both sides of that. I think that the spirit of a thing is determined by the leadership of a thing, and the spirit of Donald Trump and his republicanism is dangerous for America. Now, we can have the discussion of Republican versus Democrat. Black people have been on both sides of that discussion. It's a fair discussion, but I don't believe that this presidential election is even between republicanism and democracy. We're not even wrestling with those principles in terms of whether we live in a constitutional republic or a democratic republic. What we're dealing with right now is a culture war.
Yes.
And if you're on the side of Donald Trump, you are on the side of everything that denigrates everything that we are about. That's just real.
Right.
Now, it is fair to have a Republican versus Democratic conversation, and if we were in an alternate universe, that's a fair thing. And so I respect men who are Republican. In fact, our parents tended to be Republican.
Yes.
In terms of black people.
Yes.
But right now, that's not even the discussion. And so to think that just because he let, what's her name, Alicia Taylor, I might be wrong with the name, that he let her out and got some people out, the season was pushing for that, and Donald Trump capitalized on the season, but there were things being pushed towards that before he did that. One of the things we have to remember about Donald Trump's economy and Donald Trump addressing the penal system, that was being forced on him. Okay. And he has been able to capitalize. Number one, his economy is capitalizing on the fact that Obama gave him a push. And so, and everything that was circling around Trayvon Martin and everything else pushed him in this direction, and it was the smart political thing to do for him. And we just need to understand what we're dealing with. But overall, I mean, look at him right now. He's going to Kenosha, Wisconsin, thinking that the issue is the violence in the street, not acknowledging that Jacob Blake
was shot 7 times in the back. Right.
Shot 7 times in the back. And so I think we have to think about the entire spirit of the thing. Even the Republican Party, of which the black man that may come on your show after us is going to talk about, Donald Trump doesn't represent that Republican Party.
Got it. He was said to, my husband said he was, the president just recently said to either last night or this morning that the man being shot 7 times in the back is like missing a putt in the golf course. And so I consistently wonder what would cause us to see the suffering and the struggles of so many people of color, particularly black men and boys, and we are still having this conversation some 60 days before the election. What has changed for us here in Philadelphia, sir? Do we have drop-off points yet? What's happening here?
Say that question again.
Do we have drop-off points for the ballots? Do we still have drop-off locations for the ballots yet?
Yeah, those, we have them. We don't know. I was in a meeting last night with Vincent Hughes. They're going to be up by the end of the week, my understanding. We still don't know all of the locations, and this is why it's very important that we get enough poll workers to volunteer, and not volunteer, but get paid to stand these places up. And what we're going to have to remember is we've got to use it all.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're going to have to do it. We have to think not about November 3rd. We have to think about September 16th, you know, and the election really begins then. And we have to think about getting as many people out to the early voting. And on the 3rd, we're going to have to recognize that the risk of coronavirus is not enough to keep us in.
Right.
Mask up, get out, do whatever you have to do. Use these satellites because it takes the post office out of the equation.
Right. So tell everybody what September 16th is.
That was an arbitrary date. That means next week.
Okay, got you.
Yeah,
got you.
That just means next week because they said by the end of this week, and I don't know that that's hard yet.
Right.
So I believe that by September 16th, it should always be up. The ballots have to be certified for these things to go in place.
Okay. So where do people go to apply to be a poll worker at the drop-off locations and on the day of elections?
I do not have that answer.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you find out from Brianna for me, please? To ask her to Google where would people go if they wanted to be a poll worker, just to make sure. All right. What else is going on in the city, sir? It just seems like there's a lot of disinformation floating around out here. We're trying to wait.
There's disinformation, and so people really need to be careful where they get their information, particularly if you're getting emails and things online. That is so unregulated that you have to, number one, I think people need to listen to the station. Number two, it seems to me that Vincent Hughes and his office is doing a good job at getting information out. If you can't do anything else but call his office,
I will.
I know that you'll get good information from him.
Okay. So I'll find out from them. Oh, people are feeling very stressed. I've had several conversations over the last few weeks, family members, friends, who are saying, Pastor Waller, they can't sleep. So much is going on around them. What advice do you have as a pastor for people who are in this predicament and just feel like they have nowhere to turn? Not to mention that COVID-19 continues to kill so many people. This morning in the news, they were saying that the Republicans had a plan. They're saying it's not true, but that at least one Republican had a plan for us to do herd immunity, that at least 184,000 Americans would be dead, but then that would build up the immunity and it would be worth it. Except, sir, nothing has been. We already have 184,000. That was back in the day before we even knew all of this was getting ready to happen, right? More than 184,000 people have already died, and still nothing is going on. People are still fighting to have their sports, still fighting to play sports, still fighting to go to school. What am I missing? Why are we looking at such a deadly virus? And I think that's why the angst is so high for people, right? Because they want to go on vacation, they want to do all these things, and it's sort of trying to ignore what's happening. What advice do you have for people that are feeling like they can't sleep, don't know where they're going and what they're doing?
Well, number one, that we are going to get through this. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to get through. It is true. Some people think that herd immunity is the only way out, just ride this thing out. And that is a strategy, but we will lose that strategy. That's another reason why we cannot go with sort of this Republican approach, because we're the ones dying.
Yes.
You know, it's like Vietnam. Let's keep fighting because all the black soldiers are the ones dying.
Right.
We cannot accept that. What we do have to accept is that the reality is a novel virus has come. We did not have a good plan in dealing with it. Our national leadership fumbled the ball, and lots of Americans are going to die, and we are behind.
Yeah.
If we have a way of changing leadership, that's one thing that we can do. Whenever you feel hopeless, you've got to get involved. And it is worth getting involved to change the national leadership structure. That is a concentrated thing that we can all do.
Right.
Number two, we can all focus more on responsibility as opposed to our rights. Some of us are frustrated because of what's happening to us, but we have to remember that fighting this virus is about loving your neighbor. You know, the reality is a lot of us can get it and not have very many symptoms, but you can give it to somebody who can die. And because of that, we have to be concerned about our neighbor. And we have to accept that, you know, 2020, maybe even the first half of 21 is a wash. The only way that we're going to really get at this is get therapeutics and a vaccine, and not a vaccine that pops out a week before the election that has not been tested enough, and we don't know what that vaccine is going to do to people.
Right.
But we have to recognize that right now, my right, my vacation, my being able to do what I normally want to do is not the most important thing. The human family is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I still believe, I believe that this is a time where new leaders are developed. This is a time when we grow stronger. This is a time when we come out better and not bitter. But it's going to be rough until we get there. So we can't give up. We can't throw in the towel. We have to recognize we're in a fight and notice what's going on in our country.
Right.
We just got word of a tax cut that the president is trying to do, and it would give churches a break and some other organizations a break. But when you read through it and understand it, it's not really a tax cut. And that's the smoke and mirrors that he did with the other tax cut.
Right.
And that's why people are thinking, because you get a little money up front now, that it's a good thing. But the Bible reminds us, if we're going to be Christian, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul?
Yes.
And how much is a child worth? And not only that, but what does this disease do? Because it compromises the respiratory system, someone who gets it has a little challenge but is over. We still don't know what that means for 10 years down the line.
Right.
We don't know what it means to have it now while you're young and then you get through it, but what it's going to be like when you're 60.
Right.
What compromises happened in your respiratory system.
Right.
This is not a plaything, and we can't roll the dice with our children.
Right.
So the reality is, what I believe is that radical measures like shutting down everything are still something that may have to happen, and we have to wrestle with that and get on top of it. We have to see that this particular election is not between Democrats and Republicans. It is a culture war. And as it is a culture war, we're talking about, do we want a leadership that fundamentally views us on the bottom? And even if the Democrats get in, what we have to remember is that after they're in, we can't celebrate on November the 4th and leave them alone.
Right.
Because they have already proven to us that without pushing, they don't know what to do. That's my thought about politics in general.
Yes.
That politicians can do but so much, and they need to be given direction, but that means we stay involved and stay invested in the process. I am not carrying a Joe Biden card because I think he is the ultimate answer for all things. I think he is better than what we have, but neither of them are going to serve us without us pushing them towards the agenda that we want.
Yes. Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Allen E. Wallace, Senior Pastor of the Eden Tabernacle Baptist Church. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And you know why, sir? Because you always are reasoned, right? Your emotional intelligence is so high, and I enjoy having these conversations with you as a direct result, because it's both ends. You can see both sides of the picture and understand where people are coming from without denigrating folks, and I totally appreciate that. You have a wonderful rest of your week, and I am going to give people the information on how to be poll workers. Thank you so much, sir. Have a good one, okay?
Thank you. You take care.
All right. Bye-bye. If you want to be a poll worker, go to votespa.com/resources/pages/BApollWorker.aspx. I'm going to put that in the social media page. Again, if you want to be a poll worker and it's a paid position for the elections, votespa.com/resources/pages/BApollWorker.aspx. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
A job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. Under my plan, 50% of emergency small business relief would be reserved for the smallest businesses to recover from the economic mess we're in and to rebuild the economic future our country deserves. We can't just build back to what it was before. We have to build back better. If we truly want to reward the work in this country, we have to ease the financial burdens of care that families are carrying. To start, every 3- and 4-year-old child gets access to free high-quality preschool, and low- and middle-income families won't spend more than 7% of their income on child care for children under the age of 5, advancing racial equity across the American economy, building wealth for families of color, building a future worthy of their courage and their ambition. Just imagine if we could truly unleash their full potential. I'm confident we can do this. I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Always Best Care is a great place to work.
Flexibility. Leadership. Purpose.
Great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity. Inclusion. Compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
The people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lockville Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Right around the 2:40 hour, all the way to 4, I'm leaving the phone lines open so that I can talk to you all. 215-634-8065. I'm trying not to have it heavy with guests so that I can hear from the WURD listeners. Your voices are important, and you know, I want to make sure, my husband always says this, never let your biases get in front of your objectivity. And so, you know, while I believe in certain things as a human being and the right for what we need to have as people, I always want to make sure that I am objective enough to listen to the WURD listeners and what you have to say. So the phone number is 215-634-8065. Right now we have Elsie from Old City. Elsie, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon to you. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I am a first-time caller to your show.
Okay.
And I would like to use that affectionate greeting of Mother.
Oh.
Good afternoon,
Good
Mother.
afternoon.
My call really was to address Pastor Dr. Alan Waller.
Yes.
Because he comes with so much wonderful information about this election cycle, shall we say. I heard on the 12 o'clock news that the Wells Fargo Center had offered their services as a polling location. That I believe was one of the items that the players and the owners had agreed to offer their facilities for polling locations. I understand that our city commissioner chairperson, Miss Lisa Dealey, declined their offer. And
This
I
was
wanted
in the
to know
news?
on the 12 o'clock news today.
Okay. Ask Brianna to call over to the commissioner's office for me, please.
So I wanted to know if Pastor Waller had heard that, and I just wanted to
He
ask
probably, he may not have, but you know, last week they were offering up, the NBA was offering up all their locations.
That's
Did Lisa Dealey say why she was declining?
I didn't get that. And so I was hoping that perhaps Pastor Waller would have some information.
Yeah.
I really hadn't even intended to be on the air.
Oh.
When I spoke with Mr. Mike, he offered, to
Yes. Well, I said because Mike knows I'm happy to talk to the WURD listeners, right? I
understand that.
Yes, I do. I want to hear your
but
voices.
I didn't want to necessarily.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question while you're on the air. Are you planning to vote?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. How are you planning to vote? Are you going to do the ballot?
I've already signed up for the mail-in. I did mail-in for the primary, and I intend to do it for
the general elections.
Yes, ma'am.
And are you staying healthy in the middle of all this COVID crisis?
Well, I'm doing the very best that I can. I have my health concerns, and so that's one of the reasons why I definitely chose mail-in. But I'm an activist. I belong to a few different organizations, and so we've been trying to get more people engaged.
Yes.
And we need to reach the poor people, like what's his name, Pastor Reverend Dr. William
yes, Barber. Yes.
That dear brother.
Yes.
He's out there doing excellent work to reach the people who aren't being cared for, that they're neglected.
Yeah, Dr. Barber is amazing. I've been able to
phenomenal.
I've been able to have access to him because of some national work. Yeah, and I got to tell you, the poor people's
campaign yes.
that he consistently talks about. You know, what concerns me about Dr. Barber and amazing activists like him is that they're being pulled in so many different directions.
True.
And I want our people to, I want us to find ways to have them pull on him, but also have other people, you know, second and third and fourth and fifth in command, that we can have those conversations, because every day that I see Dr. Barber on the air, I think yesterday was another time that I saw him, he does not look well to me. And I am incredibly
concerned. Well. The man is not, he doesn't have the best health to begin with.
Yeah.
And so this is additional stress and strain on his already limited resources.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So we must pray for him, and we must see to it that we give him more and more support.
I agree. What do you think is needed here in Philadelphia? See, you call Elsie, you didn't even know you were going to get ready to have a good conversation with Mother, right? I'm real good at that kind of stuff. What do you think is needed in Philadelphia to get us over the hump in this election cycle?
First of all, we need to be realistic about the numbers that we need.
Okay.
Okay. And one of the numbers that I heard, I believe, was 435,000 votes. That we're going to have to cover what's going on in the rest of the
Wow. Yeah.
So that's one of the things I think we need to remember. In addition to the fact that we need to tell people what are the reasons why they should vote.
Yeah,
Not
we've been
only
doing
is
that.
It our responsibility, but what are the benefits? What are they going to get out of it? And they need to also realize the connection between the census and voting and how we're going to get benefits from those resources that are going to come as a result of the numbers that show up. So we should not only say, get registered, we need to say, make sure you complete the 2020 census.
Yes.
They should go hand in hand.
Agreed.
And then not only register, you must show up. You can't just register. That's not voting.
Right.
Voting is going and casting your ballot.
Yeah.
And we need to do whatever we can to help people get to the polls.
Elsie, thank you so much for calling in. I really had a good time talking to you, okay?
Thank you, and it's been my pleasure.
All right.
God bless you, and have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. So for those of you who have always followed me on my social media pages, CBS Philly, Shaquilla just sent this to me. Let's see. CBS Local. Hopefully it's not something that I have to play, Shaquilla. She must have found the article that LC was talking about, that the Wells Fargo Center was offered as a polling station, and that the chairperson of the commissioners, Lisa Dealey, declined. But I'd like to hear why she declined. I'm sure there's some reasoning behind it. I can't believe that she would decline just out of hand, and it's probably logistics, but let's see. We hear from her. So I get up every day and I am reading the news, following what's going on in the news, and I'm telling you, it would make you nuts if you don't know what you're doing, right? So last week I had a conversation about missing children and the sex trafficking business that's been happening across the country, which is a $15 billion business. Don't you know? On August 28th, missing children rescued in Georgia, sex trafficking bust. Nearly 40 missing or endangered children have been rescued by federal and state agents during a law enforcement operation in Georgia, authorities say. The U.S. Marshals Service announced Thursday that 13 missing children were found and an additional 26 endangered children were rescued during the two-week operation centered on Atlanta and a city to its south, Macon. The missing children were considered to be some of the most at-risk and challenging recovery cases, and some were likely victims of sex trafficking, child exploitation, abuse, and had medical or mental health conditions, our authorities said. As I'm reading this, I am thinking about the women that have been in here several times talking about the foster care system and how their children are taken away from them with impunity, and then they can't find their children. They don't know where their children are going. And one at least intimated that the foster care system is tied to the sex trafficking business. I don't know. I can't corroborate that. This is just something that came to my mind as I remembered them talking about it, because if these are children that are challenge and recovery cases, child exploitation, medical or mental health issues. We have to be really careful about what's happening with our children. 9 people were arrested on charges including sex trafficking, parental kidnapping, and custodial interference, as well as registered sex offenders and weapons violations. Authorities did not identify the subjects. Interesting. We're going to take a little break and come back to this because just yesterday, U.S. Marshals found 25 missing children in Ohio. This is these United States of America, y'all. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Get your money straight.
Get my money right.
With Solomon Jones and Akbar Hassan.
Fridays on Wake Up with Word.
7 a.m. till 10 a.m. Hosted by Solomon Jones. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on WordRadio.com and on the Word Radio app.
Our right to vote and to make our voices heard was a fight that's taken decades of struggle. That fight was brought to life by heroes like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and John Lewis. That fight was shaped by events such as the March on Washington, the Montgomery bus boycott, and the standoff at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Now, some are telling us that it's unsafe to vote by mail, that it's a fraud. These are lies. We've come too far to let the clock be turned back now. Our voices will be heard and our votes will count and be counted. Get your absentee ballot today. Mail it in or drop it off as soon as you can. Vote early to make sure that our voices are heard. Remember, our vote counts only if our vote is counted. Go to projectyellowstone.us and click on your state to find out how to vote today. Paid for by Project Yellowstone.
Do you need health insurance for your children? The Children's Health Insurance Program, also known as CHIP, provides quality, affordable health insurance for Pennsylvania kids. CHIP ensures that kids can go to the doctor, receive health screenings and vaccines, and get what they need to live a healthy childhood. Families can be covered by CHIP no matter how much money they make. If you've experienced a recent change in employment or income, CHIP may be a good option for your family. Visit chipcoverspakids.com to apply or learn more.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before I take my next guest on the air, I want to finish this conversation about the children. 40 missing children, or missing or endangered children, were just found in Atlanta, Georgia, and near Macon on August 28th. And it says, when we track down fugitives, this was written by the Washington Post, by the way, when we track down fugitives, it's a good feeling to know that we are putting the bad guys behind bars, but that sense of accomplishment is nothing compared to finding a missing child, said Darby Kirby, chief of the Missing Child Unit. It's hard to put into words what we feel when we rescue a child, but I can tell you that this operation has impacted every single one of us out here. And so, again, from the Columbus Dispatch, U.S. Marshals find 25 missing children in Ohio. This was written by Lou Whitmire, Mansfield News Journal, for the USA Today Network. That was yesterday. The U.S. Marshals Service has found 25 missing children in Northeast Ohio, including one in Mansfield, during a month-long investigation, according to Ann Murphy, Public Affairs Officer for the U.S. Marshals Service, Northern District of Ohio. Of these cases, about 1/4 are confirmed to be related to human trafficking or prostitution, Murphy said in a news release on Thursday. The U.S. Marshals Service has been working with its state and local partners over the past 20 days to find and recover missing juveniles from the Cuyahoga County area. So far, 25 missing and endangered children have been recovered, and they have been between the ages of 13 and 18, according to the news release. Children have also been recovered in Cleveland, East Cleveland, Akron, Euclid, Willoughby, and as far away as Miami, according to a news release. Members of the task force and its local partners will continue to work over the next several weeks to bring more children to safety, the news release said. And so my question then becomes, when people are complaining that their family members are missing, especially here in Philadelphia. I'm talking locally now, where I've had several people say that, girls are missing. Siblings are missing, been missing for over a year, and no one has any idea of where these people are, what has happened to them. It really brings to mind this conversation that I'm having now, where U.S. Marshals are picking up and finding missing children between the ages of 13 to 18 years old, mostly girls. We've got to do better, man. We've got to keep our eye on our young people. All right, right now we have Lynette S. Lucas, EDD, founder, visionary of MLKidney.org. Marion Lucas Kidney Foundation. Lynette, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi,
good afternoon.
Sweetie.
How are you? I miss you.
I miss you too, but Martha's been really busy. And it's so funny. I saw something that you were posting on Instagram. I was like, I need to interview you, right?
Okay, yes.
The Kidney Foundation. So I'm going to read a little bit about it, and then you and I are going to talk. The Marion Lucas Kidney Foundation was created in 2011 in honor of Marion Lucas. Kidney disease can impact any one of our family members at any time. Marion Lucas suffered from a heart attack in 2004. Is it Lucas or Luckers?
It's Lucas.
Thank
You're
you.
saying it correctly.
Thank you. Suffered from a heart attack in 2004, and as a direct result, she was placed on dialysis for 5 years to prevent fluid from forming around her heart. This process was very strenuous for both Marion and her family. Although she suffered for quite a while, she always had a fighting spirit. The foundation serves as a support for family members who have a loved one suffering from kidney disease or who has lost a family member or a friend who suffered from this disease. Your goal is to include educating the public on kidney awareness and prevention, organ donor process, and supporting research on kidney disease. And so I need to talk to you, young lady, because you started this with your mother, but tell the WURD listeners, first of all, tell everybody about your mom, right? Because she clearly was important to you. You constantly have this dialogue, and you're constantly pushing forward with the mission. So tell us about your mother, and then I want you to tell me, who are the people that are getting kidney disease? What's causing it to happen?
Yeah. Okay, so my mother, her name was Marion. She was a great woman of God. She was definitely my biggest supporter, advocate as far as education, and really enjoyed working with children. But my mom started in her 30s with diagnosed with diabetes. Stress. It started when she had diabetes for 17 years. Didn't know she had it. One day she passed out in the bathroom and then went into a diabetic coma, and then she was on insulin and everything for 17 and a half years and battled with that. And then as a result, she struggled with, her weight, just diet, overall just stress of life that, impacts a lot of our community. And then my grandmother passed away. And 5 days later, after we buried my grandmother, my mom had a heart attack as a result. And just the stress of everything. And I remember the conversation saying to my mom, Mom, you were really stressed. And she said, was I? I'm like, yes, absolutely. You were stressing everybody around you. And as a result, had a massive heart attack and was placed on dialysis for 5.5 years. And when my mom was placed on dialysis, there was a lot of myths, didn't really, educate herself. And I just took, the feedback that she gave me, and, I was encouraged her to maybe try to go on the kidney transplant list. And, of course, my mom didn't want me to get tested. She said, you have to save your kidneys for yourself so that you can have children, which is solely a myth. If you give donate your kidney as a living donor, you have to wait 2 years after to try to have a child. But some people assume that, oh, no, you can't have children, you can't live a prosperous life. And so as a result, when I finally was able to convince my mom to let's look at this transplant list, get on the list, and for me to get tested, her health really deteriorated to the point where she wouldn't be a viable candidate to receive a kidney transplant. Wow. So with that, moving forward, she passed away. And then I started this organization.
What year did she pass away?
She passed away in 2009. 2009, she passed away. So she was 5.5 years on dialysis. So she started off 2 days a week going to dialysis, about 3 hours, and then from there went to 4 days a week, 3 to 5 hours a day. And when a person is on dialysis, sometimes, they're very, very tired. Some people are able to work. I know of individuals, they literally go on dialysis at 5 a.m. and then they go to work at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, or they'll work during the daytime and then go on dialysis at like 5, 6 p.m. There are some dialysis sites in the Philadelphia area that have evening shifts for those people.
Right.
So that's how I started this whole, just, the awareness of kidney disease. But kidney disease in our community, in the Black community, really impacts us. And there are some signs that you may be able to identify with. Heart disease, high blood pressure are really, really key signs. Also having conversations with your family members. A lot of times we have no idea what diseases we have in our family, because sometimes we don't educate ourselves, we don't go to the doctors, and we don't want to talk about it. We'll say, I think grandma had sugar.
Right.
Is that what she had, or she had lupus? I know, and I talk to people sometimes, they'll say, well, I know they have something. We'll find out what that something is in case you may be high risk.
Right.
So you can start testing. When you go for your physicals, getting urine and blood tests will be able to see what your kidney levels are and if you suffer from it.
Right. Lynette, it's so interesting to me. People don't realize that uncontrolled hypertension, so many of us are diagnosed with hypertension at early age, right? 20, 19, 23, it's just the youngest ages. And because we're so young at that point, we feel like, well, I don't have to get on the medication. That kind of impact over time, by the time you get to 45 or 40, the hardening of the arteries of the heart, your kidney has taken a beating because it's been trying to pump at a rate that it just doesn't have the wherewithal to carry consistently past a certain time frame. And so we try to tell people all the time, at the very least, try to get your hypertension under control. Some of us come with the DNA, right? It's in our mother's side, our father's side. So as a direct result of your mother being diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 30, in her 30s, what have you done to mitigate that? In your family?
Just for myself, going to the doctors, being mindful of my nutrition, working out, as much as possible. Just even, basic things as far as drinking water. Don't drink water. We drink soda. We drink everything else. And just, I've had this conversation even with my father. As men, they struggle with their physical well-being.
Right.
So he believes he drinks a half a glass of water a day. That's good. And it's like, no, you need to drink more than that. But just, I think having that conversation for myself, even taking advantage of nutrition, seeing the nutritionist if you're able to, if that provides through your health insurance. But I also recognize for some people they may not have, access to that.
Right.
So, there's tons of YouTube videos that you can look at. I think that people have been really creative during the pandemic in utilizing free resources that's been available. There's tons of 30-minute free videos that you could do for workouts, in your basement, outside, just taking a walk, and just connecting with other groups, but, being able to practice social distance.
Right. So, there's no secret that I was diagnosed with diabetes a year ago, right, in August of 2019. And one of the things that I can tell people unequivocally is this: eat more vegetables and protein than you do carbs. Period. Sweets. Put the sweets away. So I have not been a sweet eater. Oh, my Maurice is calling it. I've not been a sweet eater necessarily, but if I want something sweet to eat, I'll have the half of the thing, right? We love Gilbran's Bakery, and I'm talking about us as a people. But they give you sizes that are so huge that a slice of cake from Gilbran's Bakery should last you 5 or 6 servings, y'all. When you're diabetic, you want to eat a little bit and drink a ton of water, right? And so as a direct result, it took me 3 months to get off the medication, but it took me a year to lose 40 pounds and to manage my lifestyle in a way that I completely understand. So for those of you who, if you know you're diabetic and you don't want to go to the doctor and you don't want to do all the things that they're telling you to do, just really work on your diet by eating a lot more vegetables, right? And that's hard when you're in a food desert and you can't find good food to you eat. Limit. I don't eat the fast food. Well, I never ate the fast food. But I wanted to also tell you that fruits have a lot of sugar in it. So you want to be very careful, even with the amount of fruits that you eat, right? So you want to balance those things out. I had to, because of COVID, been outside working. So I've been walking. I've been hiking up steep mountains. I started like everybody else, walking down the street and walking back, right? Because I was afraid. But now I'm out there with my mask on. I wear my mask on to ride 26 miles a day. I wear my mask to hike up in the mountains 5-6 miles, you know, just to make sure that I'm working on myself, you know. And quite frankly, I'm reversing things. I'm reversing the damage to my eyes, reversing the damage to my heart, just reversing everything. And I want to encourage other people through my example to just, you know, figure it out. Like, let's do this, y'all. Let's do this. We can do this, because there's so much going on.
Yeah. Yes, may I add, you look fabulous. You always look fabulous.
Thank you,
But over the years, just, you know, working on yourself, your skin is flawless. It always has, but it's the extra glow now. Mother has the extra glow.
Yeah, and I'm, you know, I always say, Lynette, that if I want to, instead of telling people about it, I'm going to be about it, right? So I knew my being diagnosed with diabetes, while it was a comorbidity in my family, and I have uncles and aunts and mother and all these different people that have diabetes, I knew it was probably only a matter of time, but I also knew that I had the tools to manage it, right? And so while people think I dropped the weight, you know, in no time flat, it took a year. I steadily changed my lifestyle for a whole year, and will continue to do it because that's what's keeping me healthy. My heart, my blood pressure has been normal, then it hadn't been normal in years, right? So all those things make a difference. I'm reversing the damage because in my head, I'm seeing my children, my sons, right? I don't want them to look at me suffering when I could handle this from eating properly and choosing different ways. And I look at my husband, the person that I absolutely adore, right? Gets on my last nerve half the time, but I love him. So the byproduct of that is that I've lost weight, and the dress, even the dress that I'm wearing today, I've had it altered twice. But I'm not giving up my clothes. I'm gotta keep altering and keep going. And so we can all do this. We can absolutely all do this. There are way too many kidney dialysis centers in this city. Do you know why we have so many dialysis centers here? What are the main causes of it?
Well, they basically target your area to see what's the population of Black and brown. So if you notice, you'll see a dialysis center within a 2 to 5 mile radius. If you look at the suburbs, in the rural counties, you may only see one dialysis center. Versus in West Philadelphia, we have about, at least West Philadelphia, Southwest, about 5 to 7 dialysis centers. And they're popping up. Some of them are just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and some of them are for 5 days a week. But it's based upon our socioeconomic status and our race. Yes.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to do is encourage people to really find workout partners. Right? It's hard. Listen, I've been in the gym with you. You've seen me fussing.
But accountability is so important.
It is. It
and
absolutely
it's important
is.
to your self-care.
It is.
You know, also with that, I know the last few months, you know, this pandemic has really hindered people in their mental health, but all of that also impacts your physical health.
Yes.
And so just because a person may be small or skinny, it doesn't mean that they're also healthy as well.
Yes.
They still may, you know, not eat healthy, but may work out, or, you know, neither. So it doesn't always necessarily mean because of your size that you're unhealthy versus being healthy.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
because I have, in our writing team, we have people of all sizes, and these sisters, I rode with the group this morning, the Cobalt team. This one sister, Vera, I was chasing her the entire 26 miles. Do you hear me? She had me moving at a pace that I was doing a 4-minute mile. And I was so proud of myself, but I also appreciated her. I told her, I said, Vera, I didn't know I could move that fast. You know?
Yeah,
and
you
so
had that extra push.
Yes,
appreciated it this morning.
Yes, and the average age in our group is like 40, 40-something, 50-something. Like, we're not just small spring chickens, but we're out here committed to our health and well-being and really paying attention to nature, right? So I tell people all the time, you don't have to go out and buy an expensive bicycle. Find someone who, is giving away a bicycle, or go on Craigslist or something to get, what you need to have done. And I'm really trying to encourage folks. You hear me, Lynette? We are dying. Do you hear me? Yes. We are dying. And when I talked to, was it Dr. Majors that I talked to? Somebody that I talked to recently that said to me, the most people that are dying from COVID is from more obesity. And so that's why it's impacting our community so badly, that more people would die from obesity with COVID-19 than people who may have asthma. And that was startling to me, right? We've got to figure out how we're going to do this, man. Oh.
Yes. Yes. And even just to add to that, I know that you've been, active with biking, but a lot of people don't realize that Philadelphia has some amazing trails that you can take advantage of. And I've been doing that like every week, just taking advantage of a new trail, new scenery, just to get out. And, just good for my overall well-being.
The Wissahickon Trail that runs from Northwest Avenue all the way out to down Forbidden Drive. Let me tell you something. There's some serious trails. Ask me how I know. I have a team of people that I walk with. I'm leading the team with them now, and I just take them on the most random trails. And we're climbing things, jumping over rocks, climbing over trees. And so, that's your weightlifting session, right? Sometimes we have to lift our bicycles over fallen trees to make sure we get where we are. But we make it fun. We talk to one another, we laugh, call ourselves crazy. But Fairmount Park, the system here in Philadelphia, is the second largest in the country. And it's beautiful, and we don't have to go to Mexico or anywhere else to get what is right here under our nostrils. So wear your masks and go out, okay? And exercise. Earl, what do you want people to know about the foundation? How can they reach you? What do you have coming up? Let me know all of that.
Yes. So we just finished our National Minority Donor Awareness Month, which raised awareness about transplant, organ, and eye donation for the month of August. So our videos are available. We interviewed a lot of powerful guests. That's on our YouTube at ML Kidney. We're still providing lunches for the dialysis workers for COVID-19. We provided lunches for 10 dialysis centers in the Philadelphia area. So if you want to contribute to that, you can donate on PayPal, on our website. And then we have our upcoming virtual 5K, which is October 29th through November 1st. So it's 4 days. You have the opportunity to do 3 miles with your family, get your friends out. You can bike, you can walk, and you can run, whatever works best for you. You have 4 days, and this is our fitness activity.
And so they have 4 days to go 4 miles?
Yes.
That's so nice and doable. I am so thrilled about that. I want to join that,
Yes.
And tell me how I can support the work that you're doing, because you've been absolutely consistent in it, and I'm so proud of you. Your mother
so much.
And then you went on and got your doctorate.
Yes.
So proud of you. So proud of you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. What's the PayPal for?
Yes. So our website, everything is on mlkidney.org, and that's all of our social media handles as well.
.org. There you go. You've been so consistent at this. Thank you so much, honey. Is there anything else you'd like folks to know?
Just continue to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And work on yourself overall, mental, physical.
You know what? On your website, do you have case studies of people who were diagnosed with diabetes, hypertension, whatever, that have found their way back to wellness so that they can help people? Do you have case studies of that on your website? Are you showcasing any of that stuff?
I know we're planning to add peer mentors.
Yes.
We have kidney. We have 2 young women, Janier Thomas and Karen Wilson, who are in their 20s. We did a college segment on how kidney disease can impact the college student. Wow. So they're serving as our peer mentor ambassadors. Yes. So we're going to be launching that and just connecting, because sometimes with individuals who are battling kidney disease, especially young, you can have kidney disease at 20 years old. We don't talk about that.
Right.
And so how do you navigate that as a millennial?
Right.
So just finding that support. But I would love to, have stories of people to share who have had, were able to reverse their diabetes or other, chronic or debilitating diseases.
Yeah, because I think it would motivate folks. I think it would motivate people, when they go on the website and see that kind of stuff, that it is very possible, very possible.
Yes.
I'm super proud of you. Thank you so much, Lynette.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome talking to you. We'll chat soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All
Take
right,
care.
bye-bye. Oh, my gosh, that was such a good conversation. Now, Maurice, should I take you before or after? Come on, Maurice, let me talk to you. How are you doing, man?
I was praying you was going to get me on to testify. I'm a double kidney transplant patient.
No way.
Yes, and I all the time, I was on the machine for 7 years and never stopped working. And now I worked in a prison, a maximum security prison during that time. That's right. And one of the secrets to controlling it is don't eat anything that's white. It's bad for you, like bread, rice, potatoes. Yes. And when you go in your house, throw all your plates out, get smaller plates.
Yep.
And like you say, drink lots of water. And a lot of people got to understand, if they find a favorite health food store that sells food, you can find items in there that can make your life better. You don't have to eat ugly. You can eat good.
Yes.
You can buy salt with no sodium.
Yes.
And people don't know that. They think they got the go. And when I ate, I only ate chicken, fish, and chicken, fish, and turkey. That's it. That was my diet for 7 years.
Oh, wow, Maurice.
So let me say one more thing.
Yes.
One of the other things is when you're on the kidney list, just because you're on the machine don't mean you can go wild. I'm on the kidney thing. I eat what I want. No, because they don't take people that are not healthy. If you're not in top shape, you'll keep missing being picked. So you got to always stay on that. And all that walking you was doing, I was exotic dancing. So,
Ooh,
let you know that.
Maurice, I'm gonna get off the line with you now, Maurice. Goodbye, Maurice. Thank you for calling me and letting me know. Listen, Maurice, I want you to call back later, okay? Because I'm getting ready to have a really great conversation with a gentleman that I think you all will appreciate after the break, okay? Did you hang up on my Maurice? You know what? I can't with you. The time is 2:21 and the temperature is 79 degrees. Brought to you from the Beach Companies with 30 years of serving our community. Check out our website for the free Black Business Directory and our Community Resources Directory. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Start every Sunday the right way with Sunday Morning Praise, hosted by the Reverend Louise Williams Bishop, every Sunday morning beginning at 6 a.m. right here on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM, streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
We will never know how many of our friends and family members didn't get COVID-19 because we followed safeguards. We'll never know that number. This is Dan Hilferty, CEO of Independence Blue Cross, with a simple reminder of how much good we do for others when we protect ourselves. We'll never know how many lives we save because we wear masks, wash our hands frequently, and keep social distance. We'll never know exactly who we help, who we save when we take protective steps each day. We'll only know one thing for certain, that we did all we could to save people from the effects of a pandemic with the potential to overwhelm the region. And that's a nice thing for us to live with. Thank you all. For more on what you can do, visit ibx.com. Together, we are beating COVID-19.
A job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. Under my plan, 50% of emergency small business relief would be reserved for the smallest businesses to recover from the economic mess we're in and to rebuild the economic future our country deserves. We can't just build back to what it was before. We have to build back better. If we truly want to reward the work in this country, we have to ease the financial burdens of care that families are carrying. To start, every 3- and 4-year-old child gets access to free high-quality preschool, and low- and middle-income families won't spend more than 7% of their income on child care for children under the age of 5. Advancing racial equity across the American economy. Building wealth for families of color. Building a future worthy of their courage and their ambition. Just imagine if we could truly unleash their full potential. I'm confident we can do this. I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Maurice has us over here howling. My husband just texted me and said, will you let me be an exotic dancer? And people are writing on Facebook, Maurice, you gave us the chuckle of the day. But you know what? It's exercise. One way or the other. It's absolute exercise. Thank you, my brother, for letting us know you were a double kidney transplant recipient, and you ate well and exotic danced your way into making sure you could get your transplant. Thank you so much. I love the WURD listeners. There's nothing like them on earth. Now listen, this gentleman, put him on for me, please, is someone that I have known for quite a few years. And yesterday, after getting on the air and talking about the fact that 8% of African-American males voted for President Trump, and that it is estimated that 24% will vote for him in this election. Lawrence F. Jones is a longtime educator, community servant, and advocate for public education. He is currently the founding CEO of the Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School, Incorporated, a comprehensive middle charter school located in Southwest Philadelphia, a building that I visited myself. Beautiful space. Larry began his career as a teacher in the school district of Philadelphia. In 1998, he was selected to the founding team of the Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School. He later became the school's founding chief executive officer in August of 2001. Mr. Jones was elected to the Board of Trustees of the Pennsylvania Coalition of Charter Schools in 2005 and has served on the board in various capacities in the organization, including president and vice president, which is his current role. Mr. Jones was educated in the Abington Public School District and is a graduate of Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. He received his Master's of Elementary Education and Principles training from Arcadia University in Glenside, PA. He currently lives in Abington with his wife, Electra, and 2 children, Lauren and Trey. Lauren and Trey, I know both those children. Beautiful. Brilliant young people. He is active in the community, having held elected office township commissioner, and currently serves as vice chair of the Board of Trustees for the Abington Arts Center and a member of the Bartram Gardens Board of Trustees. In his spare time, wherever that is, Larry enjoys studying Kung Fu, riding motorcycles, and spending time with his family. Larry, are you there, sir?
I'm here, but I don't know if they put the exotic dance on that bio. I need to add that one on.
That came so out of the blue. Maurice had us cracking up in here. Unbelievable. First of all, I want to thank you. You saw a post that I wrote on Facebook this morning saying that I don't know all things, right? And after having the conversation, I learned from some black men who not only called, they wrote into me via email to let me know that, they have been feeling unheard. The Republican Party has been their voice of, that the principles that they espouse are from the Republican Party. 100,000 men, they said, were released from prison as a direct result of President Trump. And, as Pastor Wallace said, this was already in the works, but it happened under Trump's regime. And for the people who are released, who have been in federal prisons for as long as they have been, they don't care who did it, right? Just that it happened. And then there's a whole cadre of black men, some I know, who say, look, when our monies, our business, how we run our businesses, how things are happening for us, we gain more under the Republican regime and President Trump. I have known you for a long time. I knew you as a Republican. I didn't know that you shifted, in recent months and years. I don't know when you shifted between independent and Democrat. But I want you to first talk to us about why an African-American male would be a Republican in a system where people are constantly talking about we're black, so we need to be Democrat. I've never heard such thing in my life. But can you explain to us what that looks like and why so many black men are following the Republican Party, sir?
Sure, certainly. And first of all, I just want to state that I think that you have to separate out any political party from some of its elected officials.
Yes.
Donald Trump has proven to me to be someone who spouts racist attitudes, racist statements, and is someone that I believe is not only dangerous for African American community, but is dangerous for the country and, quite frankly, the world. So I wanted to get that out first. Not that I have an opinion on him.
Right.
But in terms of me personally, there were a couple of things about what Democrats and Republicans stood for. And I was a lifelong Democrat for many, many years. My parents were. And part of why I became a Democrat, to be quite honest with you, was just because my parents were. And I think that happens to a lot of people. But one of the turning points for me was the crime bill. And another turning that happened in the 90s, and another turning point for me was being involved in school choice. And that being something that so many Democratic leaders really turned their back on. And that was a major point for me, because what the school choice issue for me was about, it wasn't about bashing a union. It wasn't about doing any of those things. What it was about was transferring decision-making and also transferring equity in education to people who were receiving the services, right?
Right.
So, we've always had things like school choice. We've always had things like entrepreneurship, but usually when those things were talked about, you could only access them if you had certain resources, and many of those resources were kept from people of color, specifically black folks. So that was a lot of why it was there for me. Also, smaller government always spoke out to me. And I do believe that the Republican Party does kind of push this, pull yourself up by the bootstrap, but I think that that's a misnomer in a lot of ways. Most people who are rich in this country didn't just totally bootstrap it. If I'm an entrepreneur whose father had access to the GI Bill, and as a result, I didn't have to pay college loans, then yeah, I kind of pulled myself up by my bootstraps, but I had help.
Right.
So I think that for a black man, being able to say, I'll do the work, but if I get the appropriate resources and assistance that everybody else should get, and if I get those things, you're going to count on me to just put my hard work to the test, that spoke to me.
Right, right. And that's what I'm hearing from the black men that I have spoken to, who are meeting and saying that, they're working hard, they're doing everything that they need to do, they're expected to give a vote and a donation, but they don't get anything else. They don't see a return on their businesses and their investments in their communities. And so that's why they've pivoted. What do you say to the people who are just all up in arms about all of this? Because everything, you're right. You see, this is what I like about people like you. And you're one of those folks that I consider to be emotionally intelligent, right? You can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can access the fact that there's so much going on with this current president, right? You understand that he has a ton of issues, but then you separated it out from, okay, but these are the things that spoke to me while I was over there. What made you go back over to the other side, sir?
So what made me go back to the other side was, quite frankly, I have to be honest with you, I don't think either political party speaks 100% to me, and I also don't think that either political party has worked very hard for our community. And it's kind of like the Republicans know that they're not going to get the vote, so why should I put that effort in? And in many ways, the Democrats know that they will get the vote, right?
So why should they put the effort in?
Why should I put the effort in? It's like, if I go out to the club, do I want to be the person that's so good looking and everybody wants him? I guess like Maurice would be, so that so that nobody is going to approach me.
Right.
Or do I want to be the person that just sits around for the entire night and there's people walking around and say, I'll talk to everybody else, but I know that I can go home with him at the end of the night.
Yes.
You're not respected in either way.
Yes.
And so I think that I switched and I was independent, and I think my voter services people are going to ban me because I literally changed about 6 or 7 times.
Wow.
In a span of a few months.
Really?
I'm still not sure. Yeah, because I kept going back and forth, right? And it was because part of it was I also couldn't get down with the fact that when I heard so many things coming from the White House and the president, and as a political party, nobody stood up and said,
yes,
this is wrong. You're wrong. We're better than this.
Right.
You may not be, but we are.
Right.
So that kind of turned me off. But, historically, people could say the same thing about in Philadelphia years ago when Frank Rizzo was beating the mess out of black people, the Democratic. It's so for our people, it's always been there.
Right.
And at a certain point in time, if you want my vote, what are you going to do for me?
Right.
And not to go on too far, but I mean that has to be locally also.
Yes.
So we have local municipalities that have been all Republican, and when I looked at the leadership, there wasn't a whole lot of diversity and representation, not only in elected officials, but who ran the municipality, who had most of the jobs, how did you get the job. Then they switch to Democrat. I see the same thing. So ask the question that out of 500 school districts, for example, with these elected school boards, you have 339 who don't have a black teacher.
Oh, I know.
Somewhere it's systemic.
Yep.
So that kind of, for me, has been the big issue. And so what I'm looking to do is, personally, I understand the two-party political system. I don't know that a third party makes sense. What really makes the most sense for me is that we really get into a point of looking at who we're voting for and what they have to do for our vote.
Yeah.
So I'll vote for, if somebody comes up with if they change from the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, they could be with the dance party. If they're going to do right by my community, and they're going to be a good leader, then I will vote for them, and I will support them, and I'll donate to their campaign.
Right.
And if they can't tell me what they're going to do, and it has to be, the last thing I'll say is, it has to be systemic, because a lot of people come and tell our people in our communities, for example, policing. We're going to ban chokeholds. Well, that's great until you shoot me.
Right.
Right. Let's talk about systems.
Yes.
And the systems, there's a saying that says, our systems are perfectly designed to get the results that we're getting.
Yes.
And I think if we look around, we see that.
Yeah. It feels to me, now you are quite aware that I was not born and raised in this country, and so I'm learning as much as I possibly can about the history and the traumas that continue to be inflicted upon us. It seems to me that as black people, we are expected to just shut up and do what we're told, right? That we continue to be resilient and move forward in the things that we need to get done, but not at the pace that we would like to have happen. What do you think we need to do beyond voting to get those things done? I've seen you in these meetings. We've had conversations. We have offered to people, I'll step up. I will help you to get X, Y, and Z done. They don't follow through, right? You want to get this done? We will help you. No follow through happened. What do you think we need to do to get the attention of the folks that are consistently running these systems, who consistently give us the trite responses and are consistently holding us back?
So I think there's a lot of things, and I'll be perfectly honest with you. If I knew the answer, I think the outcome of some of those meetings would have been a lot more productive. But you're right. I think what happens is they hear you and they say, well, we're going to do this, but knowing full well they're not.
Right.
And so I actually have to say something to you. I don't think it's that personal because we're on the radio.
Yes.
But, I told my daughter about 5 minutes before I got on the phone that I'd be calling you. And she says hello, by the way. She's actually doing virtual learning here at our school for Howard University.
Yes.
So,
give her my love.
And, I will. You know, she sat in a lot of those meetings also, and she said, you know, if you're going to talk about certain things, don't mince your words. So this is for her.
Yes.
So I'm talking specifically about the school district for one area where I reside, Abington, and just things like getting more teachers of color. And those are some of the meetings that I said. And so when somebody sits and tells you that they can't get people of color, and they have a lot of resources, and I'm sitting in a situation where we don't have the same amount of resources.
But you can find people of color. Yes.
And I found 2 fully certified people of color this summer, right? So if we can do it, it can be done. So one of the things, to answer your question, I think has to happen is we have to organize, and we have to make sure it's important. And another thing that we've started to do is everybody talks about protesting. Protesting, to me, is good. It's a language. It's a tactic. But when you protest, you have to have a strategy in mind. So if I'm out here protesting today, you know, if I'm going to shut down the main street of your town, I want you to know that I can do it whenever I want to. However, I'm not just going to do it to inconvenience you. I'm going to do it because now when we get to the table of what am I doing it for, not for you to decide what you're going to give me. So I think we have to organize. I think we have to be strategic. And I think we have to, most importantly, do what you're doing now. We have to support our own. We have to uplift our own. We have a group of African-American operated charter schools that is uniting together for this very reason. You know, and when we use that data of things like it, I'm only speaking of schools because that's what I do, and that's what I know. But when we talk about that data of 339 school districts and all of these other things, the school district of Philadelphia is probably one of the most diverse districts in Pennsylvania. They have about 24% African American teachers. When you take the black charter schools, the independent black charter schools, and put us together as a unit, we're 50%. So we double what they do in terms of hiring black teachers. And so the same question is, what about businesses? So if all of our school children in Abington and Philadelphia, and Cheltenham and Upper Darby are generating billions and billions of dollars, how many contracts go to people that look like that?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me take a quick station break and then we'll be right back. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD. Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939. Fridays, it's right here on Word Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with Daybreak, hosted by Helana. At 7, it's time to wake up with Word, with host Solomon Jones. Then at 10, it's a special edition of The Source with Tiffany Bacon, followed by Groundings at 1 p.m., hosted by Brothers Shamari. At 4 p.m., it's Laborers Live, hosted by Lessit. Then at 5, it's Solutions on Word. At 7 p.m., it's the Envy McKee Show. Then at 10, it's Freedom Sound sounds of jazz. Followed up by Messages in the Music hosted by Joey Temple. Fridays are something special on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Listen, yesterday I got on the air and began asking these questions about why would 24% of African American males vote for this current president. I have on the line with me Lawrence Jones, who is very clear in stating that he left the Republican Party. He believes that this president is nuts, and I'm paraphrasing. That the president is nuts, and he doesn't believe in the things that he's hateful, blah 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 blah. But he also explained why he was at with the Republican Party. The things that he didn't see changing for us in terms of education, equity, policing, those kinds of things. And so, what I want you all to know on this radio show, the one that I host, is that we seek to hear all sides. We don't just stay in one corner and stay in where we are and don't hear from all sorts of people. I happen to know Larry Jones, spent time with him in Abington, and while we sat on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of party affiliation, what we did agree on was mostly everything. Right? So we can't let the party affiliation switch us from listening to one another and hearing where we have to come from. We agree on education and what has to happen for children. We absolutely agree that in school districts and, so many, I believe the gatekeepers, Larry, are the human resources directors. Right?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm going there, right? The human resources directors who are, circulating people's files down the drain, people that are completely qualified, and they'll say things like, well, they were missing something. Well, did you tell them they were missing something? Did you call them to ask? You can't find them. And then they come up with these percentages. Well, we have 24% more people of color. Well, who do you have? One Asian person and some white women. Like, they have always found ways to sidestep around everything that's going on. And as a direct result, we continue to find ourselves in the background. And quite like you, I am vociferous in having my voice heard on behalf of our children. This is so insane, right? And so we continue to show up for these meetings. We continue to ask. We continue to say, I will offer you training for free. Right? So we can move the needle so that people like Lauren, who happens to have parents who are going to stand in the gap for her, but what about the other children who don't have parents that can stand in the gap for them, who are barely trying to tread and keep their head above water? What about those children? And how much longer in America are we going to go through this process until we wake up one day? To what? You know what I'm saying, Larry?
I agree with you. I mean, you had me at a human resource director. I just think you're 100% correct, and it's funny how we talk about the systems. And I was at one meeting at a township, at a district. I won't say which one. I probably already have. And a statement was made that some of the candidates may have an issue with their background check.
Wow.
Right? So this is where systems meet.
Right.
So if I'm pulled over and I'm arrested, even if I'm not convicted, if that arrest shows up, somebody can say there was something on this person's background check. Doesn't say a conviction, but when you just say that, think about how most parents are.
Right.
If somebody said to you, we're about to hire a teacher, but they had something on their criminal background check, would you want that person?
So they're stoking the fear and the uncertainty.
Right.
Yes.
So I have something. I was arrested for something I didn't do. It shows up. I have passed every background check. I've been on a governor's transition team. I have met when Bill Clinton came to the school where I worked. I passed the test there. I was, I've been vetted by the Secret Service so that I was at a meeting when George Bush was president, was with him for an hour and a half, 3 feet from him. But I could apply to some of these districts, and they could say he's got something on his record. I don't know if we should push him through. And that's all it takes.
Right.
So, but the other part is that you ask, what do? We have to raise our voices, and the other question is, what can some of the other folks who are not black folks or not African Americans do?
Yes.
And if you are in one of those situations, you got to speak up and understand your risk, because if all of these jobs for teachers or all of these jobs for municipal workers, or let's not even talk about all the construction going on in Philadelphia,
right,
and how few of those construction jobs you see going to people of color.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stand up and say, I'm not for that, then what you're potentially saying is that might be a job that I don't get, or my cousin doesn't get, or my neighbor doesn't get. But that's the price you pay if we really want to have a true and equitable society.
Right.
And until everybody's willing to pay that price, these systems will continue.
Yes. Agreed.
You
Absolutely agreed, Larry. And people don't realize how insidious the system is. I tell black folks all the time, run for office. Just run for office. Sit on any one of these local or national organizations. And for me, it was school board. And the things that I learned in those school board meetings, I don't think they realized how much of a lesson they were giving me as they sat there and kikied and cacaed about everything except what they were supposed to talk about, right? And the one thing I kept hearing over and again whenever there were interviews, for people to come into the district, they would say things like, well, would they be able to fit into the Abington way? And when I started to ask exactly what is the Abington way, will they know how to shut up and do what they're supposed to do? Will they know how to, do what we tell them? They understand that they're following what we ask them to do. I've had people told, look, you wanna get promoted in this district, you cut your locks. Right? You have to look a certain way. You have to dress a certain way. This is not just an Abington thing. It's happening everywhere. We're constantly trying to have this conversation with folks who are so myopic in their thought processes, because literally it is the way they have been using to keep people that are totally qualified from getting through the door. And when the qualified people get through the door, then they target them. We don't do things like this. This is the way. You shouldn't dress this way. You shouldn't look like it's so much. And so it's those microaggressions that add up. And so lots of times when people of color get into some of these districts, they end up leaving, right? Because they don't feel supported. When they walk in there. I had one black woman, I'll never forget it. She got her doctorate degree and she put her name, Dr. So-and-so, on her classroom door. And every day for months, she would come back into school and that doctor was taken off the door and torn up. She had to ask for a transfer. You understand what I'm saying? Things like that people say, well, just buckle up and do what you have to do. Conversations I'm having with educators, white educators who say, look, we don't believe we're just as qualified. We don't have to have black people in here teaching. And so they're constantly finding ways to hold us back. What do we do? What do we do? If we feel like we have no recourse, then what do we do, right? So many crazy things happening in our country. What do we do? And what do we tell the young people like Lauren and those that like her coming behind her? What do we tell them?
We got to tell them to keep fighting, I think, but sometimes that sounds hollow.
Yes.
We have to.
Yes.
Can you do one? Can I do one quick favor for me?
Yes.
All right. I need you to close your eyes, and I understand that it's radio. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with? Let's pick the Upper Northeast or Mayfair.
Yes.
Familiar with those neighborhoods?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to close your eyes and imagine a normal school year, not COVID-19,
mm-hmm.
and school opens in that neighborhood, and 87% of the teachers are black. What happens on the first day of school?
The children are being hugged. Welcome.
No, but if it's in Mayfair,
oh Lord, the parents, all hell's gonna break loose.
Can you even imagine that happening?
No.
But now if I said do the same thing, and look, I have some of the best teachers I've ever met and worked with and have working at our school right now are teachers who are white who are not black. I mean, you're right. Everybody can, but if you don't have that representation, it hurts our kids. And so if you can't imagine that happening in Mayfair, But there are multiple buildings in West Philly, North Philly, Southwest Philly, where that ratio exists. What that is saying is y'all can't educate your kids.
Right. Yes. Oh, my God.
And that hurts.
Yeah. 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 I fully expect that you intend to vote in this election. I fully expect that you will continue to be engaged in the best way that you know how to. What do you say to black folks who are just up in arms about the fact that they're just not getting ready to vote? They don't feel like their voices are heard. What can you say to them in the 2 minutes that we have left?
Okay. I say you should still vote. And if you don't think that your voice is being heard, vote this time. And then between now and the next election, if your voice isn't being heard, are you volunteering? Are you helping with a political campaign? Do you come to your neighborhood school and just ask, can I read to kids? Can I help clean up? Are you part of your community organization? And if you're not, then your voice may not be being heard because you really might not be speaking that loud.
Right, right. And nobody hears you when you're behind closed doors whispering and griping and complaining. I tell people that all the time. How are you showing up to be a part of this change that you want to see? Yeah. Man, Larry, Lawrence Jones, thank you so much. Give Lauren a hug for me, please. And it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of insight.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. All right, you too. Okay. Bye-bye.
Say hello to Maurice for me.
I will. I will. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So I know I have callers on the line. I'm going to take you when we... They dropped?
Woody's on.
Woody's on. All right, Woody, I'll get you after the commercial break. So just hold on. Brother Joe left. So all right. Listen, you are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is a number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Weather and traffic to keep you informed for your drive home in the happy hour with Sincerely Sarita, Monday through Thursday 4 till 7 p.m. right here on Word Radio 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
COVID-19, rising infections, red alert levels, and worries about reopening. What can you do? The Germ Killer's two-step products and services disinfect and protect for up to 90 days to give you peace of mind. The Germ Killer's system kills viruses and bacteria on high-touch surfaces in schools, houses of worship, businesses, and public transportation. Decontaminate immediately and keep students, school staff, congregations, or customers safe for months. Go to thegermkillers.com and get the coverage and safety you deserve.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on wordradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on wordradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
A job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. Under my plan, 50% of emergency small business relief would be reserved for the smallest businesses to recover from the economic mess we're in and to rebuild the economic future our country deserves. We can't just build back to what it was before. We have to build back better. If we truly want to reward the work in this country, we have to ease the financial burdens of care that families are carrying. To start, every 3- and 4-year-old child gets access to free high-quality preschool, and low- and middle-income families won't spend more than 7% of their income on child care for children under the age of 5. Advancing racial equity across the American economy. Building wealth for families of color. Building a future worthy of their courage and their ambition. Just imagine if we could truly unleash their full potential. I'm confident we can do this. I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Home of the Happy Hour. The Happy Hour. With Sincerely Sarita. This is Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Y'all's president is in Kenosha. Wisconsin, having a whole conversation about law enforcement and getting help, and pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on out here in these Wakandan streets. I'm going to leave that alone for a little bit. Let me start taking some calls. Woody.
Well, I just want to let you know that I'm exotic, but I'm not a dancer.
Listen, Woody, my husband texted me and was like, can I become an exotic dancer? That would be a big fat no, sir.
Well, that was great that he mentioned that, and it just shows you how people are versatile, and whatever direction they want to go in, and and whatever makes you feel good, do it.
And you know what else, Woody, that I love, that Maurice, that he felt comfortable enough to have that conversation with me. I love
motherly love.
Yes.
See, when you're talking to motherly love, you can feel comfortable now. I miss my mommy so much because I was so comfortable to tell her anything.
Yes.
And it did not matter. So, that's the feeling that a lot of these mothers got when that young man, George Floyd, called out
for his mother. Yes.
And when he did that, those women heard it. There's nothing stronger than a woman protecting her child.
Yes.
So that's what they were all doing in their hearts and their spirits, even though that was their child. That's what they felt. That's what they saw.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that, So
Woody,
anybody with a heart could see this. I'm going to get right to the point. I don't want to hold you up.
Hold on. I have a question for you.
Go ahead,
now that you're on the line.
Yes, ma'am.
This morning, I noticed that over 300 people have been shot and killed in Philadelphia, more than were shot this time last year. Woody?
You're asking the question now.
I'm trying to ask the question,
Woody. You want me to
Woody.
say something without you asking the question?
I know.
That's what you want.
You were supposed to read my mind, Woody.
Commissioner's fault. That's the first thing. Let's get that straight, because I can kind of read between lines.
Well, no, I'm not blaming the commissioner at all. What can we do to stem the bleeding here in our communities?
What you can do is what I said over and over and over and over again. We need to get some T-shirts made that says, if you can't read, you can't vote. Those are T-shirts that need to be put out so that people can realize that there's millions that cannot read, but you're going to blame it on them to vote. If they don't vote, they're to blame. And in many, many cases, these new machines even, they changed over. That's why I had the new machines brought in before the COVID into the barbershop, showing these young men that were having a problem with reading. Some of them are very slow readers, not to be afraid of the machine. That's what should be going on now with the days left that we have before it's time to vote. We're going to take this thing right up to the day in which everybody gets ready to vote, and then they're going to holler and scream. But we should be practicing, just like the athletes do. This is practice mode. We need to be looking at what happened, move forward.
Right.
You cannot get a job done unless you practice. Look at how much practice you do. I was thinking about you the other day. I did 46 miles, and I stuck my tongue out at you about on my way home. I was there. No.
Listen, Woody. So listen, my team is. Listen.
On Monday, but Sunday was 46 and a half miles.
Woody, listen. I talked to my team today. They're planning to do 60 miles up to Exton and back. I think I'm going to join them.
Well, if you feel like you're strong enough to do that, guess what? I had sense enough to say I'm not doing that on Monday. I went back to my 26 miles. But sometimes you got to rest a little bit and rejuvenate, especially the moisture, and that's why you need the water in your system. You are a miracle for being able to come out of this whole thing with diabetes. Not many people are going to be able to do that because they're not going to press like you. You know, your mother said, if I give her a mile, she'll take it. She'll take her an inch, she'll take a mile. That's the way you are. That's your spirit. That's your heart. But everybody's not that powerful. Now, last but not least, I want to say this to you. The young man that was on talking earlier about education, I can appreciate anybody of color about education, but if we really want to talk about the issue of the census, anybody can be a person of color. But like I said, an African American is a person that came from Africa over here, got a good 1 to 12th grade from their country, and were able to take advantage of the colleges. Most of all your immigrants are able to take advantage of the colleges because they got a different kind of 1 to 12th grade education. Their elementary education was much, much better. The inner city children got poor educations. Everybody keeps turning their head against this issue of systemic educational discrimination. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's been going on for years. And I think the politicians, even I heard a young man earlier today that's on city council, I think his name was Thompson, This brother, he's a good man. Don't get me wrong. He was good enough to tell us that city councils really can't do anything about that. They don't have a voice. But yet I thought the schools were switched over from the state back to the city. It's so complicated. How can somebody that can't read understand all this stuff? That's the key. They don't want to understand it because in this country, it's a capitalist society. Humanistic is secondary to capitalism.
So here's the thing, though, Woody. Do you think that because, and this is your thought now, that because so many people can't read, that's why we have so much, many people that are.
But it's directly connected because if you can't fill out a job application, then 9 times out of 10 you're going to find another way to make it. It becomes the streets.
Right.
And the streets usually tie up with other problems, and you run into the gangs, and people are all discombobulated and arguing and everything else. So what do? You have to now get a gun. That's the first thing. You're doing something illegal, so now you got a gun.
Right.
So when are you going to use this gun? Well, when your emotional issues pop up.
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
Something is psychological. But the first thing you got to attack is that people didn't get a good 1 to 3rd grade education. Those who missed the foundation of education are lost unless we start all over again. That's why I told you, Mother, that office downtown, I know you said you're going to get it, non-immigrants, children of the former chattel slaves, we would have something for the adults to get what I call a quality academic 1 to 5th grade education. Start over again. I don't care if you're a grandmother or grandfather. Start over again, and then you will be surprised by the time you finish that. No computers, none of that other electronic stuff, just the books.
So let me ask you this, Woody. Instead of waiting for because the office may not happen anytime soon, can you start that in your barbershop?
I already did. I told you I started it before COVID.
Okay.
I've been doing it all the time.
Okay.
It's not something I have not been doing. I can't keep the machines in here because it was hard enough just to get the people to bring it in here. That was a big job to be able to convince them that, hey, these are new machines. People don't know how to use them.
So that's not what I'm asking you. That's not what I'm asking you, Woody. I'm asking you about the 1 to 5th grade. Can you have volunteers to come into your barbershop to help people that can learn to get them to the 1 to 5th grade? Because it's reading.
I need help. I've been doing it in here by my poetry.
Okay.
I've written much of my poetry and even down to sharing information with a person who doesn't even know who they are. They grew up so fast they never knew who was the person that they call themselves. So now, I'm going to share this with you real quick as a student. It says, the me that I am. Who is that person? Who do you call that person? The me that I am. Have you ever asked yourself that question? Most of the time, these young men never gave that any thought. They've been busy trying to survive. Well, I wrote these few words. It says, the me that I am supersedes my name. The me that I am exercises the individual in me. The me that I am is forever learning the essence of my own surroundings. Although man knows my name, God knows the me that I am. Getting to know one is to get past the name, for the name is simply an introduction to the me that I am. The goal in life is to get to know the me that I am. This will lead us inside of ourselves to that straight and narrow path of what is right. This lets us know even though I'm just me, I'm never ever alone, because deep in the me that I am, there's always that light that is God. And at the end, I always put by me, Robert Woodard, I am just me, a part of the I am. All I am is a tool. All you are is a tool. Once you understand the higher self, then you'll know the further in you go, the further out you'll be. See, God lives in us all.
So here's my question. I love your poem, and we have to commiserate on that because I have crates and crates of poetry too. Do we have anybody that is willing to volunteer to teach people to read in your barbershop?
We don't know until you put the word out.
I just did.
I do it every day with the poetry. I got poetry all over this place.
Yeah, but the reading fundamentals have to go beyond the poetry, because if they can't read the poetry, they can hear it.
You're exactly
So
right.
I need people to know dog, cat, rat.
Yes.
I love cat. I love rat. I need somebody who is willing to get into the barbershop to teach people how to read.
You shouldn't have a problem with teachers who taught in books, not on machines. And there's a whole bunch of seniors that would be loving to come in here and do just that.
Okay, well then we're going to put out an edict for people to show up at your barbershop. Well, it's COVID, but we can teach people how to read. And quite frankly,
you put it out there and get the list set up. COVID's not going to last forever. The point I'm making with you in COVID is I don't want you to hurt yourself. I hear what's happening in your throat, and it's only happening because you put the mask on while you're exercising.
I do.
See, God made your face for a reason. Way before any mask was to go on, you're supposed to breathe out the waste, and you breathe in your nose the food. So my father used to say, you don't mess where you eat at. You just don't mix those two things together. Well, when you keep the mask on and you're breathing, you constantly are sucking in the waste with your food. There's something wrong with that picture. That's why God makes your face open. Whenever you got to go around people, yeah, you put your little mask on, but you don't be breathing like hard while you're exercising. And you realize that you got this on for whatever reason it is. So I get out of here, and first thing I'm doing is take this off when I'm by myself.
Right.
People driving in a car by themselves with a mask. People exercising on a bicycle, going for all these miles. I don't want you going 60-something miles with that mask on. So that's one thing. I don't want motherly love doing that because we need you.
Thank you, Woody. Thank you so much. You got my husband.
Well, tell your husband he's from South Philly. I ain't got nothing to say, but he need to get his hips over here. Tell him to come by the barbershop and see me. I love his wife, but he understands how I love you. As long as he don't die.
Goodbye, Woody. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Oh, my Lord Jesus. Prince, are you there, sir?
You done turned this into the poetry hour. So here you go. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. Yes. I thank whatever God may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the minutes of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, nor how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the chosen master of my fate.
I am the master of my soul. Yes.
So it's like, come on, that's what them Omega men like.
Oh my gosh.
So I think there's a level of accountability. I think he's fired the police commissioner now before you encounter this 400 killings later. And wherever she go, her resume speaks of Philadelphia. It doesn't speak where she came from. It speaks of Philadelphia. And so you have to stop the bleeding. If you and I was on a job for 90 days, and we didn't make a change in 90 days, there's a good chance that we will be the change. And so a lot of folks, and I just heard the gentleman who just spoke, and I admired him because 25 years ago when I was opening up my barbershop, I actually went to his barbershop to get an idea of the kind of quality of shots, and I've been having a barbershop in Schuylkill Falls. I got 3 of them now, but it's called the Schuylkill Falls Family Barbershop. And so I admire him, but we've never sat down. He's used his money for politicians. I've used my money to move the streets, and we've never come to a position where we can sit down. I don't even know what he looks like. I know I'm familiar with going to his shop one time.
Right.
But we're not familiar, and yet we both have done some things in this city that could help the city. And so, I mean, we need to do a collective piece because I think some of the seniors who have migrated from the South have a bigger problem with not reading than it is some of the younger people. That's my opinion. You know, so for him, you know, and we have to do technology. There's no way you're going to do, you know, the past. You know, you're going to have to put technology in there with the past. I mean, I'm a newly found author with a publishing deal of 3 books. So I think you've got reading and then authorship.
Right.
But technology moves people. And I think we need to do that. And so I'll hang up and I'll listen to you. And thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Prince. Thank you for Invictus. I love that poem. Thank you so much. Bye. All right, Ann from North Philly. Hi, Ann.
Yes, hello. I love that poem also.
Yes.
And I thought of something all this poetry. How I love thee. Let me count the ways. I can't remember the rest of it. But anyway, police commissioner Danielle Outlaw, when she first took the position, she never said me, I. She said we and us. Because she knew what she was coming to do. You know, that it wasn't something you could turn over all night and speak the word.
Right.
Things would change. You know what I mean? And I really feel for her.
Yeah.
I feel for her.
Why do you think they're giving her such a hard time that 90 days she would be out of here? Why do you think that is happening?
I don't know. I think it's happening because they expectation. They don't see a lot of things. They don't know really what she's doing. I mean, she's not in control of all this violence, because if she was, she would stop it as a human being.
Right.
And then they need to go where the gun law at. I bet you they can't stop them people from getting them guns, especially them white people that use something they need them for hunting and all that. Yeah, hunting what? Human beings. You can't get them up there to stop the pass the gun law. So I mean, so everybody can holler about it because it's not them in that position.
Right. Thank you so much, Ann.
And then I thought about that bike, bike riding and everything.
Yes.
I seen a guy with a bike I never seen before.
Oh.
I was coming out the store, so I was being sort of noticed. I heard a horn too. So the lady was talking to this lady. She said, "Oh, your son had one too?" He said, "No." He said, "This horn is on my bike." So then I was curious. I said, "On your bike, did you put it on there?" So he says, "No, I didn't put it on there." He said, "Made like that."
Oh.
He said, even you could ride it. He's looking at me, see that I was older than him. So he said to me, "Miss, even you can ride this bike." I said, "Well, I had you to know. I know how to ride a bike."
Yes.
Like that, I told him. So then he showed me. I said, "What's that thing over there? It looked like a meter or something." He said, "You could ride this bike. You can program. You can ride without even paddling."
Oh, the electric bikes. Yes. He had an electric bike. So people who are avid bike riders get so insulted by the electric bikes. Like, why are you even out here if you're going to make an electric bike, And
that's what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
I said, I bet it costs a lot of money.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
Another thing I'm going to get off. Maurice is something else. But he can answer yes or no. Because he reminds me of someone that worked for the city.
Uh-huh.
Years and years ago. So I would like for him to ask a question. Has he ever worked for Philadelphia Housing for the city?
Well,
so when he got off and said that about exotic dancing and stuff, Maurice had a job working for the city. Good job. I know he's probably retired by now, but he also moonlighted as a dancer. I'm just going to leave it like that.
I can't. This whole show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ann. Bye-bye. Brother Joe from Germantown.
Before I talk about my dear sister Andrea and your wonderful producer brother Michael, before I talk about brother Lawrence that was he as a guest,
yes.
you and Maurice had me crack up. Maurice on the green a lot political. Maurice was funny. I give him that. Exotic dance. Boy, Maurice, I was cracking up when Maurice said that. And brother Prince going to be our next state representative. No, I mean, this is going to be our next congressman. Let me correct myself.
Yeah.
He will be our next congressman, and he will replace Dwight Evans as congressman.
Oh, is he running for political office?
You heard it from me first, huh?
Is he running for political office?
The spirit is putting it out there. I'm putting it out there.
Okay.
I know I believe in it, but he will be the next congressman to replace Dwight Evans. And second, I agree with Miss Ann that I do feel for Sister Outlaw. I mean, I think she up against. It's not going to happen overnight. So I'm willing to be a little bit more patient with our sister, because I know she got a lot on. I know she got to deal with those racist white cops that hate to see a black woman in that position. So I'm giving the sister a chance.
Right.
But Andrea, let me say this on the grill. That was the part of Jamaica that I didn't get to, and that's the grill. I can remember last time.
Yes.
The grill. When I get there again, I've been there twice, but I've been to Montego Bay, Surveillance, Kingston. I never did get to the grill, but I'm gonna get in the grill next time I go there.
Yes.
Beautiful. I mean, it's so beautiful. Like I said, people treat me so nice, and like I say, the water is just crystal. I mean, the water's so clear and blue, sister, that you can drink it. I mean,
who are you telling? I was born there.
It's beautiful.
I can't go to a beach in New Jersey to save my life. Listen, I can't go to half the beaches up this side. Not even South Carolina. They're not clean enough for me.
I know that's right. But let me say this to you, Angela, because I want to take up too much of your time. When Brother Lawrence was speaking, he's speaking about a sentiment that is so out there. And this is what your colleague, the rap professor, be trying to say. So you can sit there and look, I know Donald Trump is a racist. He knows that. I wouldn't vote for that bum if you pay me. But see, for those brothers that got let out of jail on his watch, they don't care what you and I say. But he felt as though he got let out on his watch, like that sister who Kim Kardashian helped get out, the one of Alice Johnson, who served all those years. She was in jail for the last 20-something years, and said it would never did to a white woman. Obama could have let that sister out. He didn't do it. She got out under Donald Trump. So she's going to look at Trump in a favorable manner. Now, whether I agree with her or not, she feels as though my black president did not let me out, but Trump did. You know what I mean? So you got to look at this stuff for what it is. And see, this is what the rap professor and even some of your other colleagues, Charles Ellison, guests be saying when they be on there. See, The Democrat Party is making another monumental mistake again. Instead of going after disenfranchised young brothers and sisters on court, these young brothers and sisters are not stupid. Are they doing stuff that's wrong? Of course. But they're not stupid in the sense they know when somebody cares about them. It's not too late, Sister Andrea. I'm gonna put the clarion call out to you because you're a beautiful sister. The Democrat Party needs to stop sending young Black, Puerto Rican, even white, if that's what it takes, to these inner cities and start having voter registration just to get to these young Black men and women to vote. Some of them may vote for the first time. Get them to the polls. Stop concentrating on these racist white suburban women because they're going to be, because most of them are going to still vote for Trump anyway. You know, he has no respect for women. They wouldn't vote for Trump the last time. 75% strong. Concentrate on your base. Energize your base like Trump is doing. He energizing his racist base. Energize these poor young Black men and women who feel disenfranchised. Get them to vote, and I guarantee you, Sister Andrea, they'll come out in droves and they think the Democrat Party got something to offer for them. But don't sit there and beat up on them saying that they this and that and they don't vote. If they don't vote, they don't count. Because you're not going to insult them in the voting. But you can throw them a carrot, like say, so you can catch the bee with honey as opposed to vinegar. So you throw out that carrot and let these young Blacks and sisters in the inner cities of Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, Philadelphia, they got something to vote for. Believe me, and plus with social media, Andrea, whether it was Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, these young folks that come out in droves. They had so many young folks at these polls. And that's why I put the clarion call to you, Sister Andrea. Not just, I'm not putting this burden on you per se, but to the host. Start impress upon the Democrat Party before it's too late to start getting some voter registration jobs in the inner cities, get these young Black Puerto Rican and young Black Hispanics and Black kids and young people to come out and vote, and Asian and Indian for that matter too. And I guarantee you, you'll see Trump get his butt kicked 10 ways to Sunday. But you keep concentrating on some white suburban women, you're doing the same losing strategy that you did in 2016. And then when they lose, then you have Michelle Obama on TV blaming Black people again instead of blaming those racist white women who voted for Trump. I mean, you got to call a spade a spade. That's all.
All right, Brother Joe, you just got a whole lot in like 2.3 seconds. Hold on 1 second. Don't hang up on him yet. Did he hang up? He hung up. All right, so I'm going to take a quick break. I have other callers on the line, but he said something that made sense. You can't insult people into voting, right? And you're locking off. Right now, we have enough young people that are eligible to vote that can literally shift an election. If we know we need over 485,000 votes in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, why are we insulting people and leaving them off to the side and not looking for them for their votes, you know? Love wins, y'all. Stop trying to get to people through fear and admonishment and making them feel like they've lost their minds. Don't do that to folks, right? Just don't do that to folks. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Start your day with Daybreak. Hosted by Helana. Weekdays 6 a.m. till 7 a.m. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
Philadelphia families, PHL Pre-K, the city's free pre-K program, is now enrolling. Over 130 pre-K centers are getting ready to serve children this year with appropriate health and safety precautions. There are no income limits for this free pre-K program. Children who are 3 or 4 years old as of September 1 can enroll. Call 844-PHL-PRE-K or visit phlprek.org to learn more and find a quality pre-K center. That's 844-PHL-PRE-K. This program is made possible by the Philadelphia Beverage Tax.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on wordradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on wordradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the Word Radio app.
Sharper
All right, now, welcome back to the source. Welcome back to the source. I have Miss Viola. She actually came into the station and brought a mask for my husband, one for my husband and one for me. I love you all. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Miss Viola. And Troy happened to know her, so I guess I'm the only one that's just meeting her for the first time. WURD listens to the best. All right, so Madeline Overbrook.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
A very interesting day.
Listen.
I have like things since I've just been listening. When I first came on,
yes,
I heard the barber.
Yes.
And I would love if he does that class you were talking about.
Yes.
Because we have a problem here. We have a major problem.
Yes.
This is what I've been working on the last almost 20 years, and it seems like going around in a circle.
Yes.
Of what we're going to do about our children with our parents who got caught up in the drug thing.
Yes.
And haven't recouped, and then have children who are raised like that.
Right.
They walking down the street talking to the phone. Here go the little guy behind, walking by himself, might be 2 years old, might be going on 3. And I holler up the street, are you leaving him for me? Oh, and they go to counseling. And then eventually when they calm down, and you try to talk to them, they still don't get it. They don't get it.
Wow.
How can you have children and you're not teaching them anything? It's not fair. It is our children are paying suffering, and this is the thing. The people support it.
Yes.
I would say about the same people who support moving Dr. Outlaw out, who hasn't even got a chance to get in, and why do I call her Dr. Outlaw?
Right.
But she shows a range of respect I have never seen from a police commissioner yet.
Yes.
Have you?
No, ma'am.
Not for this community. And I am telling you, this woman has something to offer us.
Yes.
But I also know that I believe all these guns, that the Trump people somehow drop them in bags in different places so that the kids can get them. Where do they get money to buy that many guns?
Oh, I know.
Guns all over the place.
Yep.
Not getting better, getting worse. Anything we're doing, Trump is so demonic, absolutely demonic, that anything goes as far as he's concerned to get what he wants for himself and his family.
Yeah.
That's his only concern. Black people, what did he say the other day? Oh, they're good for sex
and I can't believe he said these egregious things, Miss Ann, and just gets away with it. Nobody checks him? Nobody checks him?
Nobody said a word. Nobody said a word. They let him get away with murder. And now I'm going to go to Brother Joe now.
Yes.
Joe's going to tell you what this lady that Trump gave a form to. He didn't do nothing for her. He had already got her out of jail.
Yes.
He did this so he could have a second go around at it. He has only, and the people who do after he gets off, do checks on whether it's true or not.
Yes.
He has let out 36 people. Only 3 of them was black. That was the Kanye West people. This lady, and then he brought her back to give her this form. So he looks good. And she had a hard time answering questions because she really didn't want to go against them.
Right.
Because it didn't help her, but she was sad.
Yeah.
She was sad. And let me just tell you that Barack Obama, in his 8 years, 196 people were pardoned.
196 people pardoned. Yes.
Now, brothers want to damn. You know, this stuff takes me back to slavery. Slavery was this was the worst people have ever been treated, like animals, not like human beings. This is where it started. In slavery, they went in there, they got the people, and when they put them on the ships to bring them here, they put one person from each tribe or each township or whatever it was on the ship. Nobody else on there could you talk to. That's the way they did it all the way around. So all these people, you had what you had inside of you that you knew, but
nobody understood you because they were not from your tribe. Yes.
And it was the most evil, evil thing done to human beings. And so one day when you can get in touch with me or I with you. I'd like to go over my 15-point plan with you about the schools in Philadelphia that I must have been saying about the last 15 years or more about us getting our own school system here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Sharif El-Mekki is working through that right now. He's done. He even left the
67 counties in the state of Pennsylvania, right? And we're the only county that doesn't have its own school board.
Yes.
Other people pick for us.
Yeah.
That was just like Philadelphia was picked for us. That's where you send the majority of the black folks. Because that way we can work them, we can keep them in the way we want to keep them. And that's what they're still doing, darling.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hear you, Miss Madeline.
I'll be 87 in October.
Ooh.
I have come through from McMichael with my firstborn. If he were living, he'd be 70.
Wow.
My youngest child is now 60. And we had a time in the school district. I was fighting them all the way. And I didn't have that much of education. But I came through Martha Washington. And Martha Washington had all black teachers and a black principal. And you learned in Martha Washington. Anything I know about the English language, I learned it right in Martha Washington.
Right.
I'm telling you, right now, I would say to you that because I love to read, that gives you a big one-upping.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can call over to the barbershop, to Woody, and see if you can help other people learn how to read. Can you do that?
Now, I carry my oxygen with me. But,
listen, however it's necessary. Yes. I got to go, Miss Madeline. I love you. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. I love you, too.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Let me take Reverend Joe.
Good afternoon, Miss Andrea. How are you?
Lord.
No problem, man. I used to work in Montego Bay, so I know.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Listen, Miss Madeline is so right.
Yeah.
I think the way this system works, they don't talk about our history. We don't know our history. And it just goes away. Now, in 1988, the Congress passed a resolution that September should be the preservation of Negro spirituals and gospel music month. Now, this is the black station. I hope they know about it. If they don't, that's why I'm on here talking about it. I'm going to say it every day until somebody jumps on this. It don't make sense for Congress to pass the law, and we're not even talking about it. Because this black music, the Negro spirituals, meant so much to keeping us together. It was really the glue that held us together. Yeah. Slavery was the worst thing ever happened to the world. Right. So I know that should be a fact. So if thank you for letting me make this
thank you
announcement, a way of speaking. But check that out. It's on the computer. It's all over.
1988, they passed a law that is Black Music Month.
Yeah, no, not the preservation of Negro spirituals and gospel music.
Okay.
That makes a difference because that's the codes that they used on slavery for us to free each other. But we should know. If nobody else don't talk about it, we should be talking about it.
Yeah. You know, I learned so much from all of you, which is why I give you the opportunity to call in and talk to me.
That.
I do. You know, I'm learning.
My daughters and all of them get mad at me for calling, but I don't know if someone had mentioned it.
Tell your daughters that mother is okay with talking to you.
All right, God bless you. Thank you.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye. I think you better call Tyrone. Call him.
Hey, Mother.
Hi, Tyrone, darling. How are you?
Mother Earth, I'm just dropping folks off from the Nellie Reynolds.
Yes.
Homegoing processional.
Now, who was this?
You may not know the history of Nellie Reynolds, but she was definitely one of the most homegrown community organizers that ever came to being. She was the one that started the Resident Advisory Board that started here in Philly, and then it went across the country. She, was one of our PHA commissioners.
Nellie. Her name is Nellie.
Yeah, Nellie Reynolds. But the main thing that folks don't really know that she's responsible for was we went to court. We had to sue the city of Philadelphia and the federal government to build Whitman, because Rizzo stood, when he was mayor, stood down where the Whitman housing development is today, and said that no way was anyone going to build public housing
right there
in Whitman.
Right.
And matter of fact, we had George Gould, who was part of the legal entity, the community legal aid. He rode with us in our professional, and we went through Grace Ferry, where the Grace Ferry March had.
Oh, how old was Nellie when she died?
96.
96.
And she was still active and president of Johnson Homes.
Wow.
But you know, Mother, I really was going to make that call tomorrow. I'm calling for the commissioner.
Okay.
Because I am a president of the 22nd PDAC, and that's the Philadelphia Department Advisory Council. I've been a part of the Advisory Council for over, I would say, over 40-some years. And Commissioner Outlaw is the first commissioner that I can remember that brought all of the PDAC in the city together to talk about what her plans and strategy was going to be for the city. And with the pandemic strike happening, that kind of threw everything out of bounds, you know. No one, and you know what, and especially me, because I pray about this every day, Mother. No one thought that the violence would continue.
Right. In the middle of a pandemic. Yes.
And nobody would even conceive that. No one would ever conceive that we would have young people stand on the corner and shoot up a block. Or shoot up a graduation. Or shoot up a playground. No, nobody could even conceive that something like that would happen. And for all those Negroes who's talking about that she's over her head, this, that, and the other, shut up. Because if all of this stuff happened before she got here, and where are y'all? If y'all not on the corners, y'all not stopping these young boys from shooting up and doing the things that they're doing. This district just got thrust into a situation that because of the pandemic, because I believe we would have had a better handle on things had the pandemic didn't happen. But because that happened, and then because, you know, our Joe Knuckleheads, you know, refuse to put down these guns and want to shoot up the community, want to disrupt everything that's happening in the community. And like I say, you go in the community, shoot it up, and able to walk out. Look, that bothers me. So I'm just calling Mother to say to anybody that keeps saying she's responsible for this madness, shut up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Because you know what? They are just as responsible as she.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, honey. All right. Bye-bye. Before I take another call, I just want to let you know that there is an upcoming virtual one-stop and job resource hub that the District Attorney's Office hosts monthly, happening this Thursday, September 3rd from 3 to 5 p.m. They can join the District Attorney's Office one-stop webinar by clicking on the Zoom link. This is going to have to go. I'm going to tell this young lady, for those who do not have access to a computer, they may participate by calling the following toll-free number, 301-715-8592, to listen in on the event. She's going to have to email my producer to get this stuff going. All right, I'll take one more call. I just want to let you know that Thousands of Pennsylvania renters hit by COVID-19 no longer protected from eviction. People are losing their minds out here. This is on KYW3. Governor Wolf said he'd like to see the state legislature allocate about $100 million to prevent evictions and about another $100 million to stop utility shutoffs. But if lawmakers follow House and Senate rules, that's not likely to happen until next week at the earliest. Asked Monday if he's worried that resuming evictions could cause COVID-19 cases to rise, and if he stands by his decision to let the moratorium expire, Wolf said, "I am concerned. I know I don't stand by it." Lord have mercy. There's a lot going on out here. Let me take one more call before I go to break. Rob, North Philly. Rob, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Lord, the calls are coming fast and furious. How are you, man?
Doing just fine, thanks.
What can I do?
I'm going to disagree with that brother that just spoke and said no one predicted this, because I did.
Okay.
I didn't see it at this magnitude as far as this amount of people dying and the amount of people being shot every day. But I could see or guess that because of the economical situation, there was going to be more crime.
Right.
Because crime is related to economics. And the commissioner, she's not over her head. She's actually, I believe she's being set up to fail because she's involved in an old boys network.
Yeah.
And these guys don't want to see her succeed in this position.
Right.
And right now, you know that crime, to me, and this is my prediction, I think crime is by design. Because just look at Temple, University of Penn, Drexel. A lot of those areas were depressed before those universities started to flourish like they did, as far as like the outgrowth with the communities around these universities. And they shut crime down.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to. They wanted to shut crime down. You could walk in areas around Temple now that you would have never walked in the past. And it's the same at the bottom around University of Penn and places like that.
Yes.
So crime is by design. What's going on today is being allowed to happen. And I could be wrong, and I'm sure you got educated calls calling in. Somebody might call and correct me, but I believe it's by design, and they are doing this on purpose, not only with the economic situation, but also the fact that the police are probably laying down because of this commissioner also.
Thank you so much, Rob. I thank you for your opinion, man. You have a good one, okay?
You too.
All right, bye-bye. You are listening to The Source. Y'all, I print out all this news that I want to talk about, and I can never get to it. I love you all so much. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WordRadio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
You may be eligible for up to $800 to pay your PECO electric or natural gas bill through the LIHEAP Crisis Recovery Program. But you must act fast. The program closes on August 31st. If you need help paying your utility bill due to the COVID-19 public health crisis, visit PECO.com/LIHEAP or call the PECO LIHEAP hotline at 1-800-34-HELP-4.
A job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. Under my plan, 50% of emergency small business relief would be reserved for the smallest businesses to recover from the economic mess we're in and to rebuild the economic future our country deserves. We can't just build back to what it was before. We have to build back better. If we truly want to reward the work in this country, we have to ease the financial burdens of care that families are carrying. To start, every 3- and 4-year-old child gets access to free high-quality preschool, and low- and middle-income families won't spend more than 7% of their income on child care for children under the age of 5. Advancing racial equity across the American economy. Building wealth for families of color. Building a future worthy of their courage and their ambition. Just imagine if we could truly unleash their full potential. I'm confident we can do this.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Open calendar. What's my schedule looking like?
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an emergency flash flood between Park and First Street.
What? No, that doesn't work. I'm busy then. Decline. Decline.
Floods don't exactly work around your schedule. Disasters don't plan ahead. But you can. It starts with talking to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. So don't wait, communicate. Visit readypa.org. Brought to you by readypa.org, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I am wondering, I'm looking at Mike, and I noticed that when I open up the phone lines to engage with the listeners, we get back-to-back-to-back phone calls. I know some of you are trying to call in and the lines are busy. Just hold on for a second. I have a few more minutes left before I have to get off the air. But thank you. Thank you for engaging with me so we can have these good conversations, okay? Maybe one day I will just do 3 hours of talking to the WURD listeners. I think we have the bandwidth to do it here. Anyway, Jacob, Alney. How are you?
How you doing, my sister? Peace be unto you.
Peace be unto you too, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm blessed. I was listening. You know, I'm like some of the callers. We got to stop blaming that sister for the troubles that we see in our hood. And let me tell you something. That's not really the biggest problem we got right now, because we can handle that. We did it before, you know. But I heard you guys talking about black people supporting Trump. First of all, man, like I heard the pastor, some of these things were set into motion anyway.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump, he takes credit for creating human beings. You know, that God don't get the credit for that. The Creator, if He did, you know, everything goes back to Him. We know that.
Yes.
But if we don't get this thing right, we might not have to worry about it, because it might be Russian tanks from Russia in the hood making the brothers not shoot at one another. But we definitely don't want that. Yeah. You know, I've heard the saying, everybody that's your color is not your kind, right? And I'm like Biden. You know, we got on Biden when he said, in other words, any black person that vote for Donald Trump they ain't black. And that was the truth, okay? Because I don't care. They talking about, well, he helped me in my business. But what? That ain't got nothing to do with what he's thinking of people and what he's doing in the Supreme Court to make laws that's going to hold down your grandchildren and almost their children. And so you lift him up because he let a few people out of jail.
Yeah.
I've heard black people call this radio station and say part of the reparations is that every black man should be let out of jail. They done lost their mind. Some of them need to be in jail for the rest of their lives for the things that they did. So we need to really stop the...
It's the emotion. I call it emotional rhetoric.
Yes,
I do.
Exactly what it is. I mean, come on, let's keep it real and stop playing games, emotional, little stupid games, even making statements like that.
Yeah.
We should start reparations by letting every black man out of jail.
Well, praise the Lord, they're not calling over here because,
Yes, I know. Look, they know what to call because they know you.
They're not calling them over with that food. No.
But you know, lastly,
yes.
you know, and I know you came up religiously, and I know you're from Jamaica.
Yes.
When the scriptures speak of Babylon, right? What we see today is exactly what the scriptures say we would see.
Absolutely.
But now, if we people of the light, why don't we all put our lights together and create a new sun that'll beat back this darkness?
Come on.
Right?
Come on, Jacob.
Thank you, sister.
Come on, my brother. Peace be unto you, too. Thank you. Viola.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, sweetie. Thank you for my masks.
Well, I had to pull over because I wanted to let you know you're very welcome, and I'm glad to be able to oblige to give you something. But last night, I looked at yesterday's show because I knew that it would be interesting, and I put a nice little clip on a comment based on colon cancer, breast cancer, even about myself.
Right.
Because, you know, almost everyone I've seen today, and I know that they're over 40-something years old, including my daughter who's 44.
Right.
I told her it's time for her to get one because when you have a history of cancer, it doesn't mean that it's going to, you know, come to light.
Right.
But the cautions is what you have to take.
Right.
And I had my first colonoscopy when I was 50, and they removed polyps.
Yes.
And my grandmother died from colon cancer. My mother died from breast cancer. But my mother was 49 when she passed away. My grandmother lived to be 85, which was her mother. So I just wanted to be known that Dr. Blake has two different versions of having a colonoscopy, and I've had both of them.
Yes.
So, listen, it's a breeze.
Thank
and
you.
I tell you, the hydro cleanse, I did that one last, and it was fantastic. And I usually call Dr. Blake's show sometimes when he's on Sunday because, it's very important that we need to know. But our diet and drinking that water are two of the main factors that cause us to not be able to clean our colon out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Viola.
So I just wanted to put that out there because Chadwick Boseman, I tell you, it hit me like a rock in the sense of me having children the same age he is.
Yeah.
So, it's very important that we have to take care of our bodies. God gave them to us to take care of, and many of us have done a very bad job.
Yeah. Thank you, Miss
And
Viola.
I pat you on the back as far as your diabetes is concerned because I know it takes a lot of work, but you did it, and I am so happy that you have conquered it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, and
Okay.
thank you for everything
All
that
right.
you're doing for us, okay?
You're welcome.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Youssef.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right. I just want to congratulate you on accepting calls, and then a lot of people have called in, and I know some of them try, but a lot of people condemn, like you said, they condemn the police commissioner, and they talk down on people who have done things, like myself. I'm a person that survived the child welfare system, 15 years in foster care, and the rest of my childhood in juvenile. Okay, all that time when I was in there, and I was just a child. I went out my way to expose African American children being sexually and physically abused. I started when I was 7 years old. I wrote down a word on a piece of paper when I was in second grade, gave it to the teacher to expose what I seen going on in there. They sent me home to be punished. I tried again when I was 9 when they came my way with it. They tried to do something to me. I took a razor blade to school, sat on the desk to get the teacher's attention so that they could ask me why I did that so I could tell them why. Again, they sent me home to be punished. So after a while, I said, okay, well, as long as they don't do nothing sexually abuse me, I'm not gonna worry about it. But then they started doing things like sending us to work and taking our money and all that. I said, I got to get out of here. And I got to bring this to the attention of a social worker. When I went to the person that I left, and the social worker came there, I said, I've left 14 African American children behind in a foster home that are being sexually, physically abused and enslaved. What are you going to do about it? This African American social worker told me, don't worry about them. They're not worrying about you. I said, dude, I showed them scars, bruises, broken tooth and all that. I said, this is what they're doing to us in there. What are you going to do about it? These are children. They don't have no choice of where they're at. They're sit there by the courts because their mothers and fathers are found to be unfit or whatever. He told me, well, we'll get you out of there. Don't you worry about it. They dumped me on the streets. They didn't send me nowhere to go. I wound up in juvenile, protecting myself on the streets, and I stood in front of Judge Doris May Harris, who is now deceased, at 1801 Vine Street, and told her what they were doing to children in the Youth Study Center. I never gave up. They now have to wear a uniform. They took those counselors out of there that were abusing children and put uniformed officers in there. Then I was in Holmesburg Prison at 16, which was illegal, and I exposed that. The FOI came to me. And I could have lied to them and said I was 18, but I said, no, I'm still 16. They said, you don't belong in here. We're going to do something about this. This was around Memorial Day of 1973, and I was still a child. The warden and deputy warden were immediately dealt with. They were deceased, and then Captain Taylor, he was in critical. All because I didn't keep my mouth shut, and I said, no, something got to be done about this. Now, when I got out of jail out of juvenile in 1974, my neighborhood was gang war and all silly stuff. I said, this got to stop. We're not supposed to be fighting each other out here like this. Me and the brother that is now deceased, Mo, we were corner boys. We walked hand in hand. We walked side by side. And we went to Charleswood and Frenchboro. I had nothing to do with the rest of North Philadelphia. But in our part of North Philadelphia, we made them stop doing that stuff. My 1975 was ended. So people that call in child.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you. That is our last call for the day, and it is, wow. Wow. So here's how I'm going to end this show, because we keep having this conversation over and again. You heard what Yusef talked about, right? The traumas that are inflicted upon our men that go from boys and girls, from boys to men in the system over and again, from the education system to the child welfare system to the being blatantly stopped by police and put in the system, being accused of crimes that we did not commit. It all adds up, y'all. It all adds up. And when I tell you lead from a place of empathy and love, that is exactly what I mean. There are going to be people that call into this radio station that seems angry and belligerent and just seem like they're all over the place. But what you don't understand is, unless you've walked in their shoes, unless you've experienced some of the things that they have gone through, you can't possibly understand. Which is why I say to you all the time, seek first to understand instead of being understood. Too many of us are walking around with privileges, right? And we tend to forget that just by the grace of God or our family or our father or our mother or our grandmother that built generational wealth to get us to where we are so that we could live the kind of life that we are living does not mean that we are to look down on anyone else. Just because we say we are of the people doesn't always mean we are for the people. And we have to stop and check ourselves, right? Are we leading from a place of fear? Are we leading from a place of greed? Or are we leading from a place of love and empathy? Right? Because when we work with people and listen to them and try to understand where they're coming from, people will work with you in return, right? And we can get a lot done. So I'm asking you, we tell people all the time, and I tell my sisters this all the time. First, you got to believe it, and then you got to work your tail feathers off to get it done. And if you can dream it, it can happen. But there's so many of us that have been so traumatized for so long. We've got to be able to give a leg up, a hand up, a thumb up, something, instead of walking around in judgment of people. Coming up next is Sincerely Sarita for Happy Hour. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye. They win.